Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully, you guys can hear me just fine. We're glad to have you guys here. We are doing episode 8 of the Thick and Spooky Ghouls podcast. Today, it's just me and my beautiful partner in crime, Miso Thorny, and we are covering sacred locations such as Mount Shasta and the Sea of Trees. We will be giving a little warning prior to Miso's section because her topic is very intense, very deep, very strong. So if you're sensitive to that, we're saving it for the end so that you can choose to remove yourself from that. But I do hope you enjoy this podcast. Good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Actually, it's technically good evening already. But yeah, how's everybody doing? We're glad to have you guys here. Thank you for joining us for the Thick and Spooky Ghouls podcast. Let me go ahead and pop me and Miso's beautiful faces on the screen. Don't scream. Don't be afraid, you guys. I promise. We're harmless. I promise. Hi!
Hi, dearie.
Welcome
Mostly harmless.
in. All right, so today it's just me and my beautiful waifu hanging out today, and we're just going to be talking about our sacred locations. Like I said, my topic will be under the category of Mount Shasta. Did you want to do your thing now, or do you want to do it after before you start your stream, like just discussing the topic? Because I know the Sea of Trees is it's a topic that is
I'll go
intense.
ahead and bring it up now, but I have I'll do a little more of a touch-a-roo on it right before, but is Okahara Forest. Okahara, hopefully, you guys know I can't pronounce for nothing, so I probably sound like a complete hick saying it, but it's also known as the Sea of Trees, or the Suicide Forest, what a lot of people know it as, just in the popular culture of things. So obviously, using context clues, it's pretty heavy. So, but I will, of course, understand if anybody needs to remove themselves before that. I'm not going to get into any gory details or anything like that, but obviously, it's going to be heavily discussed considering what it is. But yeah, me so
Yeah.
bummer.
Vegas like husbandos. Yeah, there's you and Baguette. But welcome and welcome, and hopefully you guys can hear me so well. Please let me know our
Yes, let us
audio
know.
levels before we get into it. Please make sure that you can hear her loud and clear because as you guys know, we are now on Spotify. And we are today it uploaded episode 6 today. I believe it uploaded episode 6 today, which was it episode 6 that we talked about Kuchisaki Onna?
I want to say, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so yeah,
Coochie.
so today at 12 o'clock this morning, a new episode was uploaded on the Spotify podcast. Miso is a little slow. Let me turn her up. Oh yeah, that's my bad. Miso, can you do a test for me? 1, 2, 3.
Hello, testing, testicles.
Can you guys hear her? Please let us
You
know
guys
because it's
hearing me
really,
all
really
right?
important.
While we're testing this, Daku, I just noticed your amazing eyelashes. Get in there. If you can't see, if you're
Oh,
listening, she's got this
oh,
gorgeous green lipstick
oh.
on and like these red eyelashes, and they're very pretty.
Well, I tried to match the color palette of my cryptid's like shirt. Like I tried to do like the blue to match my hair
I
and
like
then
it.
like this orange and black situation. So I tried to kind of match my shirt.
I said
And
I
then of
didn't notice
course
the red before. I love that.
yeah, so
Every sounds
it's
good. Awesome.
okay, good. I'm glad that she sounds good cuz like I said, this is now on Spotify and this morning we uploaded episode 6 and like I said, our podcast is I wish I was that lipstick. Yeah, it's quite lovely. It's nice and it stays on too. It's
It's
not
so
coming
pretty.
off. It's like stuck on me. It is stuck on me. Like
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the name of that lipstick.
yeah, it's by Melt.
It's
I'll show you a picture of it, but it's by Melt Cosmetics and it's
good.
I have it in orange.
For my bird beak.
I have it in
For my
orange,
beak of a mouth.
black, and purple. That's the 3 colors that I got for it. But yeah, so the new episode was uploaded on Spotify. As you guys know, we do try and give a warning in the beginning of the podcast that all of the podcast episodes on Spotify was fit to fit bite-sized sizes. So you'll see like in like one day it'll show we uploaded like 2 or 3 episodes, but that's because we divide the episodes by the
Just to make them a little
topic
more
just so that
digestible.
it's
Yeah.
digestible. It's a little more bite sized. I noticed that the most popular ones so far is Krampus and Duendes, but that's because
Duendes?
that's in the the 35 minute format because that was our Christmas special. So each episode was 35 minutes long. And of course, because it's shorter, that's like what people mostly listen to. But we still have gone quite a good amount of tractions. We now have, oh, let me get rid of that. There we go. We now have 15 Spotify followers.
Oh,
We got 15 Spotify followers, which is really, really great.
that
And we
feels
got
so nice. Thank
and
you guys
last
so
I
much.
checked, we got 2 5-star ratings on Spotify's app. So if you look at Spotify and look at Thick and Spooky Ghouls, you'll see like 2 ratings and it's give us a star rating, and we got 2 5-star ratings. So I'm hoping we get more of those. Interaction really
I
helps
don't
the
know how you
podcast
do
grow.
that.
I'll show you later, baby. I'll show you later.
That's easy.
Yeah, so so we've got it uploaded now. As of next week on Sunday, episode 7 will be uploaded next week on Sunday, and then the week after that will be episode 8. So after, like, in about 3 weeks time, we'll be completely caught up to our live episodes, our YouTube, to our Spotify. So we're gonna have all the episodes uploaded in there. So it's just really, really important that we get those in there, just because it puts us in a different area, which is the podcast setting, and it's really like unusual to have like a visual podcast setting on Twitch, but this is what we're doing, and it's our preferred format because we like interacting with the chat. We like to see you guys interact with us. We like you guys to see us, and it really is cool to like be able to show you like slideshows of like
Yes,
the
absolutely.
things. So I feel like it's a little more interactive, a little more immersive on Twitch, but on Spotify it's a little harder. And so I've been working on editing those so that it doesn't have as much of the extra things that they don't see.
And Daku's about down there. If you do want to watch it later on, you can go to her YouTube and she uploads them on there as well. So if you wanted to watch them, they're there. But the support on YouTube and Spotify really does help us out. But of course, we love having everyone here in the flesh to talk to and be a part of it. That's what this really is for us, is getting with the community and just talking about these crazy stories. So,
but it's been so much fun. I have enjoyed this, and God, I can't believe we're already on 8 episodes, you guys. Episode 8 is great. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. So, did I miss anything? Thank you for claiming first here. I turned off alerts. So you guys, if you do anything, the alerts aren't going to pop up right now, because if anything happens like yesterday, it would be really frustrating to like edit this podcast for Spotify and have my alerts going off because of those. So I turned off my alerts for today, and I kind of forgot to turn off the sound alerts. So let's avoid the sound alerts as much as possible. It's not too bad as long as you guys decide to time it in between like a proper sentence, or I'll probably repeat whatever I'm saying if the sound alert goes over it, so I can delete it on the podcast episode for Spotify. So if avoid sound alerts as much as possible, but I'm not going to remove them from you. I know that you guys like to interact with them, so the sound alerts are still there. It's just I'll probably have to repeat what I say after the sound alert plays, so I can find a way to
if you
slice
do it well,
it
it
out.
could be quite funny.
Oh yeah.
So, be strategic.
All right. So, we are going to go ahead and start. We're so happy to have you guys here. Thank you for coming in and joining us. We're so excited. This has been a really exciting journey. I have really enjoyed my time doing this. I have been fully immersed and obsessive with this, but I've been wanting it to post on Spotify since October last year. So now that it's done, my weight on my shoulder is like, whoosh.
Right.
But I'm like hyper focused on making sure that I get everything done so that it's already where it needs to be, and I can stay in because I'm like, I have to find time to edit the audio and stuff. So for me, I'm like, I need to get on top of it now so that it won't be like a bunch that I have to edit in time. It's just like whatever the episode is, I get to edit it and then upload it. So
yeah, Daku really does a lot of the heavy. It's like she does all the heavy lifting with all the editing.
Please, no, your beautiful face. No, your beautiful face is so.
It doesn't do any of the heavy lifting, but she's been working her ass off. So please, again, guys, go check it out, please.
All right,
it means so much to us.
Let's get into it, shall we? All right, you guys. So we're going to be talking about sacred mountains. Specifically, I'm talking about Mount Shasta, and she's specifically talking about the Sea of Trees, aka the Okahara Forest.
Okahara, yeah.
Okahara. Okay. So that's what that's what she's going to be talking about after me. So we're going to Sasquatch. I'm so sad that I missed
Hi,
your
Sassy.
podcast, but the Cryptid Book Clubs had their
I got the
episode
end of it.
today. Oh, yeah, I'm so bummed. I got home and I'm like, oh no, and I looked and they were already done. They did it like what lasted for like an hour and a half, but they had Baguette there. They had, I think Mago was there, I think, and then they had Baguette, and of course, I don't know if is it Cecil or Cecil was there? I don't know, but I'll probably have to reach up on that. But yeah, we've got the Cryptid Book Club that was just earlier today, which is Sassy Squatch's podcast where they discuss books. So, welcome in, Sasquatch. Welcome in. We're happy to have you. And hopefully you're doing well, my lovely Sassy. My lovely Sassy. I love you so much. You are our favorite Sasquatch.
Oh, Jinx.
Double love on
Classic.
Sassy. We just double banged him.
Classic.
Double
Thick and
bang the
Ghouls.
Sasquatch. That's fine. We
Oh,
double
he loves a
teamed.
good DP. This is an adult podcast.
It was me and Baguette and Saito. Oh, Saito. I like the name Saito. That's a good name.
That's a good name.
That's a really good name. All right. Are we ready? Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about Mount Shasta. And I knew there was some weird shit at Mount Shasta, but after doing my research, I didn't know it was this much weird shit. Like, it's a lot. Like, I almost have to do a two-parter, but I tried to. I edited my notes. I had like 5 pages of notes, and I edited to like 4.5 pages. I kind
Oh,
of
I'm
edit. I
ready.
micro edited, and I edit after like I edit while I'm presenting. So But yeah. So we're gonna talk about Mount Shasta, which is here in California. I've actually been to Mount Shasta. Well, I haven't been inside Mount Shasta, but I have been in the vicinity of Mount Shasta. My
Oh, wow.
stepfather, yeah, my stepfather lived in Weed, California. And in Weed, yeah, he had like a property that he rented out there and he built this really, really nice cabin. So he lived there for a while. And so I would visit him every once in a while. And Britt, welcome in. Well, Britt is from my sister's community.
Oh, hi.
So, yeah, so Mount Shasta is here in California. It's not too far from me. It's right before Portland. When you take the train from where I live all the way to Washington, you get to drive past it. And the trains actually have these seats that look like they have like this glass window that's wide open. And then you have these rotating seats that you can sit on. So while you're going past Mount Shasta, you can sit on those and actually get the view of the mountain. It is a beautiful mountain. Let me go ahead and show you guys. So this is the beautiful Mount Shasta. You can see
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's a beautiful mountain, and it's not like most of the time it's covered in white snow, but there's on occasion. Actually,
Snow cat.
interestingly enough, this is not just Mount Shasta. This is actually Mount Shasta, and Mount Shastina is the smaller one
Chestina.
right over here. Yeah, so Mount Shasta and Mount Shastina. Like Mount Shastina is a part of Mount Shasta, but it's known as its own thing. There's even a town named Shastina. So there's a town
It's
that's called
funny. I like
Mount
that.
Shasta. There's a Mount Shasta town, and then there's a Mount Shastina town. So But yeah, so sometimes the caps are there so that you can see the snowy cap. It's very, very popular. It's interesting because that's what Mount Shasta is, and it's known as the sister of Mount Fuji. And let me show you guys what Mount Fuji looks like. You guys probably know what iconic Mount Fuji looks like, but that's Mount Fuji, and this is Mount Shasta. So they're known as sister mountains. And
That's funny.
yeah, so they're called sister
The
mountains.
irony.
Yep, they're both sacred locations. They both have a lot of supernatural paranormal activity in both those places. So yeah, this is Mount Shasta and Mount Shastina, and this is Mount Fuji, which will be discussed later during Miso's topic. So
Yeah,
yeah. So this is
that's
Mount
crazy.
yeah, so that's Mount
And
Shasta
we
and Mount
didn't plan that
Shastina.
either, by the
No,
way. That was not planned. Again, this keeps
no,
happening. It
it's
was not
funny
planned.
because you know how I said that episode 6 was uploaded today? The
Hmm.
very first one is Kuchisaki Onna, and the very first topic for today's upload is Kuchisaki Onna. And it's funny because in that podcast you mentioned how if we ever do a location, I really want to cover the Okinawa forest, is what you said. You said
Oh,
that in the
yeah.
podcast, and here we
And
are.
here
So
we
I'm like,
are.
what a coinkydink. What a
It's
coinky
weird how
dink.
that keeps happening.
Why are you sad facing, Incubus? Why is Incubus sad facing? Oh, Incubus, no pouting. Anyway, so Here we go. So Mount Shasta is here in California. It's not too far from me. I've seen it. I've not been to it. I've been very near it a couple times. Once when my stepdad lived in Weed, California, which I would hang out with him. And Weed, California is a small little town, and like they really don't have much to do. So when I was hanging out with him, he would take me to the pizza place, and then I would hang out at the Pizza Hut arcade area there, where all the people my age would hang out because there was nothing
Oh
else to
my
do. So
God.
people would go to the
Pizza Hut
arcade there.
arcade. Ooh wee, you're bringing me back. You're making me time travel right now. I don't appreciate it. Jesus. Woo! Free pizzas on your birthday.
Actually, that's when I learned. My sister's like, I feel so bad for you because that must have been so boring. Yeah, because there's the temper tantrums every once in a while, but that is also when I first had my very first wonton soup. I wasn't feeling good, and so my stepdad bought me like this thing of wonton soup, and I've never had wonton soup before. And after that, I was obsessed with wonton soup forever, and then I ate too much, and then I'm like, I can't eat wonton soup anymore. So. Welcome in, Luau. I mean, Lau Lau. I think it's Lau Lau. And hello, Britt. Welcome in. Welcome in. So yeah, I would like, and then yeah, just Mount Shasta's
That's
so
right,
close
redneck.
that it's been there, and we've driven past it on the train. I really do want to visit the town of Mount Shasta and buy some crystals, and we'll get into that. So, Mount Shasta is a hub of paranormal activity, supernatural activity, and weird, strange, sacred energy. It is also known as one of the most beautiful places to faces. One of the most beautiful
Faces.
faces.
It's a
I'm
mountain
sorry,
face.
it's a mountain face.
Ah.
Well, it's funny because I even call it a she. I actually like the for some reason my pronouns that I relate with Mount Shasta is she, her. Like she is a strong mountain. She is a beautiful mountain. For some reason my
Strong
like
women. I
the
mean, I,
pronouns is maybe I don't know, but like I see like the energy I give her is like female energy.
but right, let's say power of Mother Nature, all that jazz. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of the most beautiful places to see, but it also is one of the most dangerous places to see. Like it's great to be there, but there's a lot of weird shit that happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a lot of missing people that happens here that are unexplained missing disappearances. Some people
Oh
haven't
boy.
been found. Some people just disappeared off the face of the planet, never to be heard of before. So yeah, there's also
Did you
people.
say is it connected to a national park
No, it's its own thing.
or
Mount
forest?
Shasta, like
I wonder if
it's
it's
got a
a.
forest around it, but
I bet you it is a national park because a lot of people say that's like a whole.
actually, it is considered a
Or
national park, but the thing that makes me really, really mad is it is considered a sacred place, but I hate that there's like people that decide to go over there and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go ahead and tag this place." And so
no, oh
like
my God, people do that
it
all the
makes me
time. They
so
like,
mad.
yeah.
So like there's tags like in the very beginning of the
Mhm.
thing where people meet up at the park and stuff like that. People have tagged like different rocks, different stones, and it's not like regular tag, it's like gang tagging, and it's just
Mhm.
like really
That's so sad.
all the way here. So there's like tags all over the place. The disrespect that people have for like Mother Nature. It's just like, come on, people go there to escape, and here you are throwing your shit art on this thing trying to make a
Yeah.
statement. It's just taking away from it. But that
People
we're
go places like that and they'll write their names or they'll like break like historic rocks or write over like somebody in some location wrote over like Neanderthal writings, like like cave paintings. Like they like deface them. And I'm like, dude, that's like that's crazy. Why what would possess you? Anyway, we'll stop spiral. I'll
yeah,
spiral. But
sorry.
yeah, national
It just makes
parks.
me so mad. So
National parks are notoriously like, you know,
it sucks. Like
missing,
for
yeah,
me, like the occasional
missing
when I see
people.
people's like, people's initials on trees, I find that cute. I find that cute. But painting your tag on it, I don't find cute. Like for me,
No.
I'm just like, ugh, come on, please. Anyway, so it is the most dangerous place, and it's got from basically from missing persons to fairies to giants to a couple cryptids and
Okay.
yeah, and alien sightings, um UAPs, lots and lots of unidentified flying objects, a lot of them with different shapes and sizes, and even like it even has a strange magnetic field around it. And it's even seen as like possibly a teleportation portal for other dimensions. So,
Okay.
like I said, when I did the research on this, I'm like, oh crap, hi, Dak. There's
Hi,
just
Jackie.
so much going on in this. I'm like, how do I break this down into different
Right.
categories? Because there's just so much in this mountain.
Information. Right.
So much. Like, I didn't even know where to start my research. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be easy. It's Mount Shasta. And I'm all like, where do I start? So I tried to put it in a structure that works. I won't be able to go in as much detail with each category. I'll try and give it a little cover, give a little touch up on that. Otherwise, if I cover every single category, we'll be here for like 2 days. So
No, that's fair enough.
I edited, or it would be a two-parter. So, uh-oh, what happened to your face,
Oh
Misa?
shoot! What the hell?
Did you have a power outage?
No, no, I'm still here. It's
Okay,
my
okay. I'm like,
camera's being
I'm like,
weird.
where'd you go?
No, I just have an old camera. Gonna upgrade.
Yeah, but this is what happens with me is I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this
There's.
topic. It's gonna be great. But then I go on this like spiral of
It's a rabbit
insanity,
hole. Yeah.
and I cannot stop myself from like falling into the rabbit hole and jumping into other rabbit holes. It's a mess. It's a mess. So I try, like, that's why it takes me so long to do my notes, is because I know how my brain wanders, and I'm like, you got to pull it back
Mm-hmm.
and go back to the actual point, not all the other points that are around it. So so Mount Shasta has all of it. Like I said, cryptids, giants, freaking
A little bit of
fairies,
every creepy weird
aliens,
thing.
missing persons, etc. It has everything. And it's also known as the sister mountain of Mount Fuji. So, Mount Shasta can be found in Siskiyou County, and it is a part of the Cascade Range, and it is a semi-active volcano. Yes, this beautiful mountain with white caps is actually an active volcano. And the last time they knew it erupted was in 1250 AD.
Wow.
And she is, see what I mean, pronoun. She is about 14,179 feet above sea level. She is so tall that the top of the mountain pierces the clouds and
Oh wow.
creates like this. You can see how the clouds on top of it, how it creates like it almost like creates like a cap on the clouds because it pierces the
Right.
clouds, and you see how the clouds kind of just float over it. They're called lenticular clouds or something like that. But
Ooh.
it's so tall that it reaches at the clouds and pushes the clouds out of its way. And at the very top of this mountain, because of how it actually makes its own weather.
Oh, that's really
It is
cool.
so
Okay.
high up that it creates its own weather
Own
at the
app.
very
Yeah.
top of this mountain. So
That's really cool.
yeah, and it's often mentioned that like people will see like lightning and different colored lights coming from
Right.
this mountain. Like there's a lot of like bright colors that come from this mountain. And there's like a story of this guy that was like taking the train down there, and he just saw like an explosion of colors that was like around nighttime. And when he asked one of the workers on the train like what that was, she goes, "Oh, yeah, those are just the Lemurians during their nightly ritual. We'll get to the Lemurians, you guys. We'll get to them. We'll get to
That's
them.
not
We'll
that's
get
not like
them."
scary or like sussy at all. She's always just Litharians, you know.
It's just Lemurians. Uh,
Lamorians. I'm sorry, Lamorians. Don't mind them. They're just Lamorin around. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna go there. Thanks.
and
I'll
it's
avoid the mountain.
it and so with Mount Shasta, it is the second highest peak in the Cascades, and it is the fifth highest mountain here in California. And it has a satellite cone, aka like the satellite cone is like something that happens with volcanoes. I'm not a geologist or a person that studies
Hmm.
volcanoes, but apparently like there's a pressure that creates like this crevice, and so it has a satellite cone, which the satellite cone is Mount Shastina. So which is like,
Yeah, oh, that's really cool.
yeah, so oh, whoa, shit. So you've got Mount Shasta over here, and then you've got Mount Shastina, which is like, I think it's based on the pressure of the heat and everything else that it creates
Hmm.
like a point for it to kind of come out because you don't want it to implode on itself. And so like
Hmm.
there's like cones that form around volcanoes to kind of relieve pressure.
Right.
At least that's what I understand. Like I said, I'm not a geologist, so don't take my word for it. I can't explain it. So basically, that's Mount Shastina, which Mount Shastina is so big.
I love what they named it. It's so
Mount
funny.
Shasta and Mount Shastina. It's great.
Chestina. You're like, oh shit, there's a second one. Chestina. There we go.
So
Shasta and Shastina.
Shasta and Shastina. And it's funny because Shastina has its, I believe it's got its own lake, Shastina Lake. I can't remember. I think it's that. I think it's Shastina Lake. But anyways, I know that my stepdad at one point liked painting Mount Shastina, so he would do like
Oh,
canvas paintings of oil paint, and he did paint Mount Shastina because wherever he lived, he had a better view of Mount Shastina than Mount Shasta, and I know he painted that.
that'd be a crazy, awesome view to have.
Yeah.
Just go outside and see mountains.
So when I say it's a semi-active volcano, as recent as during the summertime of 2021, there was a lava explosion that came from Mount Shastina that caused a wildfire around Mount Shasta, and it caused all the surrounding places in Siskiyou County to evacuate. So over 7,500 people had to get evacuated because of the
Wow.
fire that was caused by people say it was a barn that was burned down, but it was originally started from like a lava explosion of some sort.
Yeah.
And so like places like Weed, California, Lake Shastina, Edgewood, Wakefield, all of those places, all of Siskiyou County was evacuated because of this. And the lava fire was a wildfire that burned 26,409 acres along the
Wow.
slope of
God
Mount
damn.
Shasta. Weed, California was definitely very affected by this. And then during the 2021 California wildfire season, this fire started on June 25th, 2021. And they had to get Cal Fire and all those people, like a bunch of hotels were rented out because they were trying to bring enough firemen to put out this fire. And it started
Right.
in June 25th, 2021, and it did not actually get fully extinguished until September 3, 2021.
Oh my God.
June, July,
Yeah, I
August.
can imagine how
Yeah.
stressful and like sad that must have been for the people in those areas. That's crazy.
Thanks, T Shane,
Oh
for
my
that
gosh.
subby. I turned off my sound
Oh,
alerts, but I still see him. I still see him. Hello, Redneck. We're glad to
it
see
was
you. Hi, Dak
your
Attack. I
sister
love
gifted
you.
it.
Hello, hello, hello. I appreciate those gifted subbies. Oh, that was my sissy. Thank you for giving it to Shane. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. All right, so so that's basics of it. So we're gonna go and like I said, there's so much going on that I decided to put like a tree structure of what categories I'm gonna talk. So I set up different bullet points of what I'm gonna talk. So now we're gonna start with the native legends of Mount Shasta. So
Okay.
the oldest known human settlement in the surrounding area is about 7,000 years old. So 7,000 years ago, there was.
Oh
Oh
wow.
shit! What the fuck? My notes are gone. Hold on. Panic attack! Panic attack! I got it! I got it! I got it! Just kidding, you guys. I got it. I'm fine. I'm fine. There we go. Sorry, I had to move my notes in front of me.
Oh, Roddy Mama, you're sweet.
Roddy Mama, thank you for those biddies. I appreciate you. And thank you for you guys that
Roddy
hype
Mama is
train.
the best.
Wow. Really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this topic. So far, I know I've given you guys a lot of history, but it's part of it.
That's
But
what
it's
we're
part of
here for,
it.
baby.
But we're
That's
getting to the
right.
weirdness of it. We're getting to the weirdness of it. We're getting there. We're
Oh,
getting
it's
there.
already super weird.
All right. So, like I said, the oldest known human settlement was about 7,000 years ago, and there are several local tribes under the shadow of Mount Shasta, and many of these tribes call it a sacred place. But according to the local indigenous tribes, namely the Klamath people, they believe in the legend that Mount Shasta is the home of their spirit chief, Skell. So, Skell chose to, Skell chose to come down from the mountains or come down from the heavens and choose Mount Shasta as his place of, as his domain in this plane, in our world. And so Skell is known as the spirit of the sky. And what the legend says is Skell got into a battle with the spirit from below world named Lao. Lao is the god of the underworld. So you've got
Okay.
the spirit of the sky, Skell, and Lao, who is the god of the underworld. And so they had a battle, okay? And the legend says that Skell hurled hot fire rocks and hot, like just hot liquid fire from Mount Shasta over to Mount Mazama in this battle that they were having with Lao, the god of the underworld. And
Okay.
upon Skell's victory, it destroyed Mount Mazama, and after it defeated the god of the underworld, Mount Mazama erupted and formed the volcano basin of Crater Lake. So, because of this battle between Skell and Lao getting defeated, it caused Mount Mazama to erupt. And when it erupts, it creates a crater, and the crater became what we now know as Crater Lake. So they
Okay.
believe that the great victory of Skell was over Lao, and that's how Crater Lake came to be. So they believe that Skell still resides in Mount Shasta, and it is also a symbol of victory over the god of the underworld. And Crater Lake was believed to be a great place of all evil and all things wrong, while Mount Shasta was seen as the land of blessings, as the land of the good. So you've got the defeated Mount Mazama, who is now the Crater Lake, which people think is like a bad place.
Right.
Bad things happen there.
Bad omen.
Like it's like just bad luck versus good
Right.
luck or good land. So they believe Mount Shasta is the land of blessings
Like
versus the
tainted.
other.
Yeah.
So you've got the
One's
good and
tainted, one's
evil,
blessed.
which happens a
Yeah.
lot in religions or in any kind of
Hmm.
not just religions, but in any kind of story with comes to mythology
Any
and all
kind of
that stuff.
beliefs, like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you've got the
Absolutely,
good versus
absolutely.
the evil is always
Hmm.
like there. So that was the native legend of Skell and and Lao. Other tribes believe that if they go up to the mountain past the tree line, you are going into a and you're going to a dangerous zone, and they believe that if you go there, you are inviting death. Because if you go past the tree lines to enter that part of the mountain, means to enter the realm of the dead. And this is
Okay.
where the damned live. This is where the evil dwarves lived. And it's also known as the prowling places for different spirits and magical beings. And not all of them have good intentions.
So they
No.
do they think this is like a doorway to the underworld or like an in between?
They believe it is a realm of the underworld. Like that top
Okay.
part of it is like part of
Like
that. Like
layers.
it is
Yeah.
a layer. It's like where this evil is like combined
Okay.
or like clustered. It's like a cluster of
So it's
evil
like
and all that stuff.
yeah, but it's one that you could easily just accidentally walk into if you go wandering past that threshold. Okay.
Yeah, but
Also, happy birthday, Roddy Mama.
happy birthday, Roddy Mama. But yeah, so they believe that different spirits reside in the past the tree lines, and they believe magical beings.
Okay.
Like I said, not all of them are up to good, and they also believe that that is a portal. That it is a portal for different realms all over the mountain. And within the local
Okay.
tribes, there are stories of the Shasta people, and they believe that the Shasta people, when they like the when the natives here saw that the Shasta people were there, they described them as shorter than the rest of the natives, and they also had darker skin. And the Shasta people, they believe, have been there before any other tribe. So before any other tribe, they believe that they were there beforehand.
Right.
And they believe that the Shasta people were brought to this place by their king from a land far, far away. Darker skin, shorter, was in this place from a land far, far, far away. And and the reason they chose to live on Mount Shasta is because it reminded them of the snowy peaks that remained in their home that they had to leave because it was submerged into the sea, which we will get more into that because that is a yeah,
Interesting.
so that part of
Hmm.
the tribe's legends closely relates to something else I'm gonna talk about. But yes, a lot of the people that are in Mount Shasta believe that Shasta people are people that came from a different place far, far away. They're shorter, they have darker skin, and that they had a king that moved them there, and they chose to reside there because it reminded them of their home, which they lost in the water. So, you know what we can't do when we talk about Mount Shasta? You can't talk about Mount Shasta without talking about specifically the Lemurians. which is
Oh, here we go.
we're getting into the alien section already
I
of
was
Mount
going to ask. I
Shasta.
had a feeling. I had a feeling the Lemurians might be aliens. It sounded a little alien, but
Aliens!
it's
So,
always some kind of alien.
yep, Mount Shasta is believed to be the hiding place of the lost city of Talos. The city of Talos is known as the City of Light. It is a city made of crystals, and they also had its own artificial sun that provides its own sun. So they believe that Telos is hidden inside of Mount Shasta. So they believe that
Okay.
Mount Shasta is like a dome, and inside Mount Shasta is the city of Talos. And inside that city of Talos, it has its own sun, but it's an artificial sun. And
Okay.
so what the rumor is that they believe that the sun is a crystal, like is because the Lemurians are considered a very advanced race, still far
Okay.
more advanced to us as a species right now, us as humans. Like they're still far advanced from us, so they're believed to be an advanced species. And one of the technologies they believe is a crystal-based technology. And so they believe that the sun is a crystal powered by their specific technology, which was made by the Lemurians. And what they believe is that they use the crystals from above the ground outside of Mount Shasta, the crystals outside of there, and that gets charged by the sun, and those crystals basically charge the sun inside of the city of Telos. So they believe
Okay.
that, like, basically they feel like crystals are like those mirrors when you go inside
Like their own
the
solar energy.
yeah, so they believe it's
Yeah.
kind of like the mirrors inside of the Egyptian tombs where the light reflects in the
Yes.
mirror.
Yes. I know
So they
exactly what
believe
you're
that,
talking
but
about.
they believe that with crystals. So that they believe that there
Okay.
are
So they
crystals
have
on
their own
top of
lighting
Mount
system.
Shasta, and those crystals take the solar rays in and then bring it into the artificial sun that is inside the city of Talos.
Okay. That's really cool.
It's a very cool concept. Um, and so it's interesting because whenever they were talking about like these crystals being charged by it, it just really made me think of this beautiful female Disney character who, had to save her people and sacrifice herself, and she had a crystal necklace. Then she was summoned into the tomb, and then the crystal necklace lit up, and then she kind of got pulled into the center, and then she got enveloped by light. I'm talking about Atlantis. I'm talking about
Oh.
Kita.
Oh. I love that movie.
But anyway, so
The
every time they
crushes
talk
I
about
had.
every time they talk about all these crystals that charged by one crystal, it just makes me think vice versa. So whenever they were talking about how it creates an artificial sun, my Kita was like the sun because their other thing was damaged, that she became the sun of Atlantis.
Right.
So that I just thought it was
Well, that
interesting.
the whole city underwater. I was like,
Oh, baby,
is
we'll
this?
get to that. Don't worry, we'll
Oh
get to
God.
that. It is so weird that that is what popped up in my mind because the Lemurians, you can't talk about Mount Shasta without talking about the Lemurians, and you can't talk about the Lemurians without talking about the Atlanteans.
I knew it. I knew it. I use context clues.
so, so attached to the city of Talos is a complex system of tunnels that are beneath the that are like hidden and beneath, and they travel. It's like these tunnel systems that go around Mount Shasta, and to different places, different areas, possibly different domains. You know how in the episode we last talked about how there was like the kids that walk through the tunnel, and tunnel systems and cave systems were believed to be
Yeah.
teleportation things. So they
And
believe
the
that
green
Mount
skin.
Shasta has a lot of those inside of them. It's just tunnels that lead to different
Okay.
places and possibly different dimensions, different
It's
realms.
funny because I was gonna bring up. It sounds like the green skin children. How they kind of just walk through. Maybe a portal or a doorway, and all of a sudden, shorter, different colored skin, not really knowing what's going on, which is very reminiscent.
So, like for what is believed that the city of complex tunnels, and these tunnels are made out of like jeweled walls and fur carpeted floors, and they believe that Talos is the current place, or it's the place where the Lemurians now live. It is where they live. because of something that happened to where they came from before. So it is now their new home. So so the Lemurians are an ancient advanced alien race. And they believe that there was a land called Lemuria a long time ago, which was destroyed by a war that caused a great flood. And it was a war between the Lemurians versus the Atlanteans.
Oh,
So
okay.
the Lemurians and
Oh
the
boy.
Atlanteans had a big war, and both of these species are very highly technically advanced and all that stuff. And so, with
Right.
their advanced technologies, they went into war, and the war was so devastating that it
It would be,
caused
yeah.
a great flood. But we'll get more into that. So basically, prior to everything, a lot of there's a theory, well, I guess there's some proven things of it, but have you ever heard of Pangea?
I have, yes.
Okay, so they believe that the Lemurians and the Atlanteans resided very near each other during that time,
Okay.
and so what happened is they lived in Pangea, and the Lemurians lived in this place called Lemuria. And so they had some kind of disagreement over power exchange and all that stuff. And a large war happened between the two races. And their technology was so advanced and so like devastating that it is the reason why Pangea
Yeah, happened.
ended up breaking apart is because the
Oh
war
shit.
was so devastating that it destroyed the land and caused the land to split,
Cracked it the
and it also
okay.
caused the great flood. So because of the war that they were having, they were doing so much damage to the earth that it caused the earth to start to fall apart and crack into places,
Okay.
which caused them to split. So the
Well, but say, well, something split like that big of a landmass, like something like that splitting would cause a terrible like tsunamis and God knows what. So I mean,
so basically, with this devastating war, um
damn it, redneck.
The Lemire. Oh wait, what am I missing in the chat? Anything good?
Redneck said I thought it was caused by the squirrel from Ice Age.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? Like I said, this is just a really good
The
one. But
squirrel theory.
it's just like it's the squirrel theory. You've got the Lemurian Atlantean theory. So they believe that the war between the Lemurians and Atlanteans is what caused the Earth to fall apart. So let me go ahead and get some pictures here real quickly. So we've got the picture of Mount Fuji. Let me go ahead and oh, speaking of sister mountains, baby. So, interestingly enough, that you think that like we're talking about the sacred mountains because when it was like Pangea before, they believe
Mhm.
that Japan and California were in the same coast. And so
Oh,
you've got Mount Fuji right over here in Japan, and you've got Mount Shasta here. So sisters in the same coast.
right.
And
Yeah.
they look very alike. They have a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similar I must say you'll see.
Yep.
There's a lot of
So
similarities.
this right here is what the original concept of Pangea was. And then
Mhm.
as time goes by after the war, it started to fall apart and separate and separate and separate to what it is now. So it tells you like the changes. So basically, the war happened to, is it 22.5 million years ago? The war between the
Mhm.
Atlanteans and Lemurians happened around that time, is what they theorize. Okay. So let's get back into it. Oh God, there we go. Hi. All right, so sorry, I like that. Like a lot of my notes was so based on like the Lemurians and the Atlanteans because it was such a big part of the whole thing. I'm just like, oh my God, and
Oh,
you can't just briefly mention Lemurians and leave it alone. You know what I mean?
and those of you who are listening, that was just uh she just showed the stages of Pangea, so and it kind of just gave you a visual example of how
Of
where
Pangea in
Pangea
time.
was
So
started with the war and it falling
yes.
apart over time. Yeah.
So it's got the Permian period and then the
Mhm.
Triassic period or Triassic
It's
period, then the Jurassic period, then the Cretaceous period, and then present day. So it shows the different forms of Earth from what it was to what it is now
in the progression.
in the
Yeah.
different periods of time. So that's what I just showed in the little slideshow here. So
I
got it.
like that. I like the visual kind of like
Breakdown of it. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like,
yeah,
this is so cool. So
I like that.
So they believe that the war caused the Great Flood, which the Great Flood is mentioned in so many different theories. It's even mentioned in the Bible. So the Great Flood, it happened, but there's so many different theories on,
Versions and
yeah. So,
hmm
so some believe that after the war, Lemurians sought to find a new home, and that new home was within Mount Shasta. They decided to remove themselves from the rest of humanity to try and save it because of the devastating damage that the Lemurians and the Atlanteans caused by destroying the earth because of their war. They decided to seclude themselves from everyone else because of the fact that they felt like their technology was so dangerous that they had to, like, basically seclude themselves from the rest of the world and keep their technologies to themselves to avoid ruining the planet in general. So the
hmm
Atlanteans, so the Lemurians decided to, go over to reside and be a hidden species inside, or a hidden society within Mount Shasta. These are just the survivors. There's a lot of people that died. So it's not like the entire continent of Lemuria
right,
is now inside Mount Shasta. It's the survivors of the war that's inside Mount Shasta. I don't know how many, but they're the survivors of the war because there was death. There was
right.
lots of death between the
Oh,
Atlanteans.
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure there's death between Atlanteans, Lemurians, and everyone else that was surrounded by this war. So,
Right, but that war so bad it starts cracking the planet. It's gonna be gotta be deadly.
yes. So
It's a lot of energy too, if it is, in that space.
And so they decided to live in Mount Shasta, and the Atlanteans decided to go underground and live in a society underground. So that's what they believed. And so the concept of Lemuria was first mentioned in a published book called Dweller of Two Planets, which was written by Frederick S. Oliver. So it was a father and son. And so basically, we'll get more into the Dweller of Two Planets. Hold on, the concept of Lemuria, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so the concept of the Dweller planets claim that the survivors of the lost city of Lemuria ended up in Mount Shasta. So there's the theory which people believe that the Earth had. Yep, that's the Pangea. Sorry, I like I said, I just described it, and my notes are like I'm catching up to my notes here. Give me a second. Shot. I covered
Oh,
a lot.
your sister's learning how to play Pokemon. I
Yes,
see.
she is. She also
Oh
has it in her
boy.
community now.
Oh,
So, because of the mass destruction of their advanced weapons, they decided to seclude themselves. But during the war, the city of Lemuria was destroyed and sank underground, and that's why the Lemurians have to find a home. The survivors had to find a new home because their home, Lemuria, sank and was gone, and
right.
so they chose to reside within the mountain of Mount Shasta. And the Atlanteans returned to the lost city of Atlantis, clearly, and they had their technologies. So, The Dweller of Two Planets was written by Frederick S. Oliver, which was the son and father. And so, what happened is he was on a trip with his father. The kid's name is Oliver. And while he was helping his father do something in their trip, he started to shake convulsively. And his hands started to do like a crazy motion of writing, and he couldn't stop having a seizure. So his hand was doing a writing seizure. And so his father didn't know what to do. So his father took him home, and his mother provided him a piece of paper, and he started like writing. He basically said that he had no control on his hands. His hands, like the seizure would take control, and his hands started to write text. And
Sorry, I'm
so,
just picturing someone having like a medical and like seizure, and someone putting a pin in their hand as they're like seizing, and they're just still seizing, but they have a pin in
yeah,
their hand.
because he's doing like some
Like
kind
a
of
picture.
writing motion.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he asked for
He
a
like,
pen.
yeah.
I
I was
think
just
he
like
might have
thought he
asked
was
for a
just gonna stick
pen,
a pin right in his hand, like
but
here you go, son.
yeah, I think he asked for
That'll
a
help.
pen and paper, but then his mom kept him providing him paper because during his seizures, he would just do some ghost writing with his
Right.
hands. Like his hands is just like his hands like apparently
No,
took a
yeah,
life of its
but
own.
say Ghost right, exactly what I thought too. Yeah,
And so
I thought he was just gonna be like, there you go,
yep.
here you go, champ.
So he ended up writing some text, and then the seizure would stop. And then the seizures continued on for quite some time. Like this lasted for a couple years, I believe. And so every time he'd have a seizure, he'd be writing. And after a couple years, his seizure stopped. And after it stopped, he had a thick stack of paper, which is as thick as a book of these ghost writings. And so he believed that he was utilized as a tool by the Lemurians to tell them the story of their people and to also give us a warning of what could happen if we weren't more careful. So he believed that,
It's
the
like an oracle.
Lemurians took over him and he started writing text, and it was like the Lemurians' way of saying, hey, we are here. Here is our story. Here is what we wish you would learn, and here is what we wish you would avoid. Here, hopefully you can learn from us, is what the whole concept of that is. So,
Right.
where is Lemuria? Well, originally, Lemuria was believed to be a land bridge between Madagascar and the Indian subcontinents. And so the reason they believe that that's where it could be is because it would explain why there was existence of lemurs. By the way, before it was known as Lemuria, it was also like a theory similar to this, or could be the same theory. It was known as Mu. I think it's Mu. So, but Lemuria just happens to be the name that's stuck. But it was known as Mu, as like the continent of Mu.
Ow.
Yeah. So they believe that Lemuria
No.
existed between, was the connector or the island connector between the Indian subcontinents and Madagascar, and that would explain why there were lemur fossils that existed in both places, but for some reason none were found in Africa. So
Interesting.
so they believe that this thing was a connector, and that connector is the
Hmm.
reason why they have fossils of lemurs in both places, but not over in Africa. So they are like, why?
Okay.
Like, because Africa technically, let me show you in the map here. Hold on. Please hold. Please hold. Please hold. Please hold. Um, So this Kumari Kandam is what they believe Lemuria was. So it's known as Lemuria now, but the land itself before was called Kumari Kandam, and it was the connector. So you can see that Africa is right next to it. So they believe that that's the reason why certain things existed in some other places, but not. And so there was like a bridge situation that caused that to have fossils exist there. That's just a theory, but they believe that Lemuria
Right.
was Kumari Kandam. They believe
I
that
mean,
was which
that's not crazy. Yeah, but say it's not really all that crazy because I mean, with like you said, like Pangea and everything, it's
and
completely possible.
Kumari Kandam Kumari Kandam was lost to the sea due to a catastrophe. So
Yeah, right.
before the concept of Lemuria came to be, Kumari Kandam was lost to the sea because of a catastrophe, possibly a war, possibly a flood, could be, but it slowly sank into the water and got lost in the ocean. So they believe that Kumari Kandam was Lemuria. So,
Okay.
what are Lemurians? So, Lemurians are believed to be between 12 to 15 feet tall. They are, what, baby?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so
15
they're
feet tall.
they're believed 12 to 15 feet tall, and one of the scripts that I said gave a description of them, and they have dark skin. So they have very dark skin,
Mhm.
but it glows a golden color. It's like a dark skin, but they have like light inside of them that causes them to glow. So they have dark skin, but it
Okay.
glows a golden color. So they believe that they glow, like they actually glow. And they have very flat faces, and they have a walnut-sized organ or nodule on the or some kind of like protuberance on their forehead, and they believe that that is where their psychic powers come from. And
Oh, like a third eye, kind of,
yeah, so they believe
like
that they
a
have kind of
thing.
like a third eye situation,
Okay.
because a lot of the stories is that Lemurians communicate telepathically. So they believe
Interesting.
that protuberance on their forehead could be where whatever the thing is that gives them their telepathic abilities could be there. They believe to have very small, sharp eyes, very piercing. They're much further apart than a normal human's, more like a shark, but it gives them the ability to be able to see sideways as well as frontwards. So they have very flat
More
faces.
predatory sight.
Yeah, so they have flat faces, very tiny eyes, very piercing eyes, and they're much further apart, but it gives them the ability to see on their sides and see forwards as well. So that's why their eyes are further apart. And They are very androgynous in appearance. And they also are so not only are they very androgynous, but they have extremely long limbs. They have long legs, long arms, long tall torso, long faces.
Right.
So they're very elongated, you know,
Right.
kind
Well,
of
how tall they are doesn't
like
surprise me.
Jack Skellington elongated
Hmm. Yeah.
or like that kind of those kind of features, or
Thank you for the
even like
hydrate.
oh we've got a hydrate, even like the Avatar maybe.
Oh yeah, exactly. They are very. That's a good
Yes,
example.
very like tall, very
Mhm.
long
Very
features.
slender. Yeah.
But they're very human-like. They're just androgynous. They
Right.
have a perfect balance
Stretched
between,
out.
yeah, they have a perfect balance between masculine and feminine like appearance. They have
Right.
they look both. And then they also, for those that have claimed to see them, they dress in loose white robes and wear soft sandals. And if they're not wearing clothes, they're usually seen naked.
Oh, do they have
Naked.
genitals? Or is
Um,
it like,
I don't I don't
is it
recall
a
them
kin
mentioning that
situation?
they like I don't remember them mentioning genitals. I think that's why they mentioned that they're androgynous in appearance
Right.
cuz they might not have.
They might have nothing
Cuz
distinctive,
from what I
right? It might
heard
just
from
be
like they didn't like sex wasn't a thing that was mentioned
right.
that happened with the
It might
Lemurians.
not be how they do
So,
it.
it
Yeah.
might yeah, so who knows? They could be like they could be like the Gith and they come from eggs. I don't know. The Gith
Right.
Yankee.
But say it could be all kinds of things. God knows.
Like the Gith Yankee.
What's
Right.
this?
If I say it could be
Hello,
that,
Taku.
it could be like a fully, since they're so technologically advanced, allegedly it could be like a whole like tube situation. Who knows? Yeah. That's
Okay.
very interesting.
So I actually because I couldn't find any images of what the Lemurians
Hmm.
look like, I actually took advantage of AI and put the description of these Lemurians on them, and I actually produced a couple images of what their descriptions showed. So here are what the AI. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hide your thing right now. We don't need that right now. So this is what the closest I can get from the AI generations. Like, of course, it's still not close to the description, but this is what
Hmm.
AI generated for it. So they have the
The
darker
bottom
skin.
right, I think, are
Yeah,
probably,
I feel like this
yeah.
is probably a little closer than what we'd expect. But
But see, the other
yes,
ones are gorgeous, but they're very human. I
yeah.
feel like they'd be less, like they would be familiar, but like uncanny, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bottom right, like that looks really cool, and I feel like
Yes.
that's
So this, yeah, the
yeah,
bottom right is what I feel like Lemurians is probably it's closest to, but you see how it's very long, very
yeah.
very long. But the flat
Again,
faces
very
aren't
James
there.
Cameron Avatar.
Oh yeah. So like I said, that's what the description I typed on AI, and that's what popped up as
Right.
those images. Um, but but there's also another group of people that describe Lemurians completely differently.
Interesting. Okay.
So with some of these people, they believe that Lemurians are tall, pale humans with light hair and blue eyes, and some believe that Hitler learned about the superior species that are the Lemurians,
Oh,
and
oh, oh
and
God. Oh no.
and they
Oh God.
believe that and they believe that he was given a task by the Lemurians to purify
No.
the earth and make it so that the children of the Lemurians are the ones that dominated the earth. So that is the theory:
Stop.
is that they're
Oh
tall,
no.
pale creatures with light hair, blue eyes,
I
and
was
they
gonna say,
believe.
so Europeans, like they saw Europeans. Is that what it is?
No, they saw like blonde hair, blue eyes, but really, really tall. I feel like they kind of like expect, like they kind of got it mixed up with Nordic, like the Nordic aliens kind of description,
Hmm.
maybe, but like very androgynous in a way. So they believe that Hitler found out about the superior species and they believe that he was given a message
That,
by the
how do people
Lemurians
get there?
to
That's
purify the
crazy.
earth and
That's a
search
crazy
for their
fucking
children.
wow. I was not ready. I gotta tell you right now, everybody listening, chat, everyone, I am a little shook right now because I was not ready for the Hitler theory. I gotta tell you, wowie wowzers, who, what a turn. Woo!
I'm
This has been a roller coaster.
This is okay. When I told you that my research was crazy, my
No, you
research
weren't
was
fucking kidding.
crazy.
Yeah, you weren't fucking kidding.
Thank you
Woo!
for that follow, Semi-Pro. I'm sorry I didn't see that, but thank you for that follow. I appreciate you. So that's why when I said when I
God
did this
damn.
topic, my brain was like, oh no, what do
I
I
mean, you had
do?
like, how do you not bring that? Like, what if, like, what? I don't even know how people get there. Like, it's so crazy. Aliens, I expected. Okay, I didn't expect Hitler. All right,
Well,
that's crazy.
apparently Hitler was brought up. So,
Oh,
hi,
Corja,
hybrid. Welcome in. Welcome in. Oh my God.
you
Sorry,
got a
guys.
raid.
I got a raid.
You got
Thank
a
you for that
raid.
raid. I appreciate you guys. Welcome in, raiders. Hi, Papa Cortra. Thank you for choosing me for the raid. You're coming in for episode 8 of the Thick and Spooky Ghouls podcast. And today we are talking about sacred locations, specifically mountain specific ones. And I am currently covering Mount Shasta, and we're just discussing the craziness of the Lemurians. But hello, Papa Cortra. Why are you broken? Please don't be broken. I love you.
You picked a interesting time to raid in. I'll tell you that much.
Everyone came in when I'm
We're
talking
on a.
about Hitler. Oh
I say
God,
we're on an interesting.
no.
We're on an interesting part of this. So, good timing, I guess. You know.
Oh my God. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Too much love. Too much love. Oh my God. I'm so sorry, guys.
That's a great way to get broken. That's what she said.
So, like I said, when I said my research was crazy, my research. Aw, thank you, Cortra, for saying we
Thank
look
you, Portia.
amazing. We appreciate you. Thank you for choosing me for your raid. I hope you had a good stream. Okay, so I'm trying to find my notes after the Hitler comment. I kind of got thrown. My notes just went all over the place. It's like toss. Okay. Oh, that was it. That was it for the Lemurians. There's way more about the Lemurians, but that's it. There's also like
Don't
a
throw
whole
anybody off.
there's also a whole group of people that believe that they are star seeds of Lemurians. So there's people that exist in the world now that believe that they are star seeds of Lemurians,
Like the
and they
children, right, or
themselves
something.
are, yeah, that they themselves are Lemurians. And there's also there's a whole religion that was made um based on the concept of Lemurians. So there is a Lemurian religion out there, and there are like a lot of people that are really like dedicated to the religion, and a lot of people believe that the Lemurians no longer reside within Mount Shasta because they managed to uh what is the word, they managed to move on to the next stage and get enlightened over to the spiritual realm. And so a lot of spiritualists believe in the Lemurians, and they believe that the Lemurians, the way to communicate them and stay in touch with them is through the crystals. So crystals around Mount Shasta, there's crystal shops everywhere, and people sell crystals
Oh yeah, I was about
because
to say, I fucking bet.
yeah, so
I bet.
crystals are really big with like people that believe in Lemurians or that are part of the religion. I can't remember the name of the religion. I should have added that here, but there's a religion that's like
Yeah, I
focused
bet they
on
get a lot of
the
spiritualists
Lemurians.
from like,
Hmm.
probably around the world coming there. Even if they don't believe in that particular, just the place with such a plentiful source of crystals, it's spirituality surrounding it. I bet you
Hmm.
there's
Yeah.
tons,
So they bel
tons of people that come there for
So they
those.
believe that some crystals are attuned to the Lemurians in the spiritual realm, and that is how they can communicate and get guidance from the Lemurians is through their crystals. So their crystals are very
Right.
sacred and important to them because they're tool to communicate with their gods, I guess. So yeah, so there's a whole religious sect about that, and like I said, crystal shops are everywhere. I do want to go to the city of Mount Shasta and probably like go buy myself some
I mean,
crystals
that's
just to
the
have
best
them.
say.
Like I have crystals here, but none of them are from Mount
No, you
Shasta.
should. If
So
you go,
like,
you gotta take a little video or something. That'd be crazy. That'd be really cool.
well, next time I go to
Also, Otaku
Washington.
said we beautiful. Thank you, Otaku.
Aw, Taku, you're so sweet. Thank you. So, on the concept of Lemurians, in 1930, it was discovered that there was an 8-foot humanoid skeleton found near Mount Shasta, and they believed it could possibly be a skeleton of a giant because giants did exist at one point in the life. It's even mentioned in the Bible, like David and Goliath. Giants existed prior to this time. I just don't know why people are like, no, they weren't real. You know, there, it's just, I don't know why it's hidden, but yeah, apparently some believe that the humanoid skeleton, it's about 8 foot long. Some believe that the skeleton was a skeleton of a Bigfoot,
Eight. I
or
must say eight. To even like unreal. There's been people that are well documented to be over 7 foot tall. So I mean, that doesn't that like giant, people. I think people think you're saying like bigger than a mountain, when really it's usually like everyone's like, oh, they're like 8 or 9 foot, and that's not really that unrealistic for there to be like maybe a small population or something that was incredibly tall like that, or a different race or whatever it may have
Yeah.
been.
So they believe that either the skeleton belonged to a Bigfoot, to a giant, or possibly a Lemurian. So all of those categories fit within that, but there was an 8-foot humanoid skeleton found near Mount Shasta, not on Mount Shasta, but in the vicinity of Mount Shasta. And they
Mhm.
believe that it's either Bigfoot, a giant, or
I
Lemurians.
was gonna say Bigfoot, though. We also have that as a theory. That's also
Oh yeah, don't
we
we'll
know
get to
how
big
popular he is.
we'll get to Bigfoot real soon. Okay,
Oh
Bigfoot's after the
boy,
aliens.
of
So
course he is. Of course he is. Of course.
So, more on the aliens of Mount Shasta. Um, Mount Shasta is like there are so many reports of people constantly mentioning seeing, like I said, lightning, different light sources, and all that
Right.
stuff. And a lot of people report seeing aircraft, unidentified aircrafts there. Some mention the cigarette long ships. Some mention ships that look like a jellyfish. Some people
Okay.
mention like the UFO thing. So there's different reports of different ships that have been sighted around Mount Shasta. Like it seems to be a hub for ships from different species, different planets, different areas.
Right.
But there's like all sorts of it, from cigar shaped, from the jellyfish ones to the ones that like can change their shape based on what they
Like a
want to do.
hub or
So like
something.
the one that
Yeah.
like they look like this 1 second and then they change their shape to get ready for takeoff. And so there's a lot of sightings of unidentified spacecraft or aircrafts
Mhm.
around Mount Shasta, on Mount Shasta, near Mount Shasta. And a lot of them are also kind of hidden by lenticular clouds because Mount Shasta has a lot of lenticular
Right.
clouds. And so they believe that like they have their stealth and then they go into the mountains and they think they're hidden by the clouds, but really they're seen.
You still
So
kind of see him.
yeah, there's a lot of reports of people seeing spacecrafts from here. If you go to Mount Shasta and talk to any of the locals, every single local you talk to is going to have some kind of paranormal, supernatural story that is related
Right.
to Mount Shasta.
Well, with that much reported activity, that doesn't shock me at all.
It's a lot of activity, like so much
Hmm.
so that I'm like, I don't have time to make a note of every single report on this. So
Right. Just
I'm just gonna
give me the
vaguely
highlights.
mention. But there was a lot of people that mentioned the jellyfish ships not too long
Right.
ago. I couldn't find the reports for it, but there was I know that there was like a huge thing where people are like, did you guys see it was like a jellyfish, but it was in the sky and it was heading towards Mount Shasta. It was like a huge thing and it was
It
trending
sounds
for a
it
while.
sounds like it was like it sounds like a very like a hub for different
Well,
alien maybe or
it is a
whatever,
paranormal hub is what I consider
let's
Mount
say.
Shasta. Paranormal
Yeah, it's
hub.
definitely a beacon, it seems like, for certain. Seems to be drawing a lot of different things.
So, they believe that the reason all these spacecrafts and all the stuff is sighted near Mount Shasta is they believe that Mount Shasta itself is a teleportation point for
Mm,
traveling to other dimensions across space or um other galaxies. So they
there it is.
believe that it's kind of like an airport.
I'm gonna say there it is.
They believe
That's
that Mount Shasta is an airport for different spacecrafts, for different aliens, for different areas, and it's got some kind of like black hole or some kind of like space or plane
like a
that
portal, right?
causes them to jump from this location to wherever they need to believe that. And so they believe that's why there's a lot of ships that are sighted there, is because
Right.
it's a
Literally a hub.
teleportation beacon
Yeah.
of some sort to
Yeah.
wherever they're trying to get to. And that's why
Hmm.
there's a lot of reports that that mention all these different spacecrafts, and it's never just like the exact same one. It's always different descriptions of different
I
spaceships that's been seen there.
I want to say one example I think off the top of my head is Skinwalker Ranch, where we see a lot of the paranormal meeting a lot of like alien activity as well. You know what I mean? They kind of going hand in hand, and this feels like another one of those situations where it could certainly be a marriage of both, you
Yeah.
know?
Thank you for the follows, Nenny and Boxy Blue. I appreciate you guys for those follows. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Aw.
you. For all your follows, I appreciate you. Sorry, I'm not trying to ignore the chat, but I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm telling you guys
There.
the story of Mount Shasta.
The spicy mountain.
So they believe that it's just a teleportation place for
Right.
other places, and a lot of people like there's a couple reports where they saw the ship go towards Mount Shasta, and then like light, and then boom, it disappeared. And so that's why when people mention the light show that's there, people say it's because of its own weather on top of the mountain. People say it's because people are teleporting from there, and like the energy fields is causing like that. And also Mount Shasta has its own special magnetic field that's kind of weird. So yeah, there's also that,
Funny you
that's involved in
say that. Oh, it's so funny you say
Are
that.
we gonna be bringing it up in Mount Fuji?
Yeah, we might be.
Like I said, sister mountains. I didn't, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, we don't plan our topics like with each other.
No,
We literally
not like
say
that.
like what we mentioned, like we're gonna talk about
Sometimes we'll have a
locations this
theme, but
topic.
that's it.
Like
Yeah.
we come up with a theme, and then for some reason our themes always tie up.
My allergies are coming. Sorry, eyes are watering.
Okay, so that's it for the aliens right now. Sorry, I kind of blew through that.
They'll be back. They always are.
All right, and now we're moving on to the Bigfoot and the bat squash of it all. So, the Modoc people of the Klamath Basin in north of Shasta believe that the mountain is home for Matagami. Matagami is the Modoc word for Bigfoot. So they believe that
Okay.
Mount Shasta on the north part of it is the home of Bigfoot, and Bigfoot is known as the keeper of the woods. So they aren't afraid of him. They believe that he is the one that
He's like
protects them, and also protects them from
Mhm.
going past the tree lines, going into the place that they're not supposed to go. Because it's a
Thanksgiving
dangerous place.
village.
Yeah.
You ever
So
seen that?
no.
Oh, never mind then.
But yeah, so the Modoc people believe in Metagami lives in Mount Shasta, which is Bigfoot. So there's mentions of Bigfoot all over here. So reports of Bigfoot in Mount Shasta goes as far back as the 1920s. He was mentioned there, and then he became a really big topic again in 1962 because they found a female Bigfoot giving birth. There were sightings of a female
Oh, gee.
Bigfoot giving birth in Mount Shasta, and that was in 1962. And then in 1976, um, there's a lot of people that made sightings of Bigfoot traveling all over Siskiyou County. And then again in 2021, there was so many reports of people seeing Bigfoot in different places on Mount Shasta and around Mount Shasta. There was reports of Bigfoot being seen in Happy Camp, Bigfoot being seen in Toad Lake, Bigfoot being seen in Bernie, Whaleback Mountain, Shasta Lake, and of course Mount Shasta itself. So there's lots of sightings of Bigfoot here. So much so that, can I tell you a really, really cool fact?
Absolutely, please do.
Do you know this artist named Kesha?
I do, I do.
So Kesha is apparently really, really, really into Bigfoot, and she actually decided to go to Mount Shasta and interview a bunch of people that lived around Mount Shasta because she wanted to learn more about Bigfoot. So she would go to the locals and interview locals. So this celebrity will come here, interview the locals, and actually there's a couple videos of it on YouTube. If you guys want to look it up, Kesha and
Right.
Bigfoot in Mount Shasta,
I know
you'll
she
see.
did ghost hunting and stuff. I didn't know she was into Bigfoot too. That's very cool.
Yep. So she went to Mount Shasta and interviewed a bunch of people and explored the area because she wanted to learn more about Bigfoot. And she's got some videos online of her talking to the locals and the locals
I
telling her
love
the
that.
stories of it. But I thought it was really, really cool. Hello, welcome in, Jex. It's okay. We're only halfway through my topic. We're
And
almost,
of course, you can always catch it on Spotify later or
and
YouTube or the
YouTube. Don't
VODs.
worry, Jex. We've got VODs. We've got VODs. Hello, Epic.
Appreciate you
Welcome
being
in.
here.
We're
Yes,
happy to have you
hi.
guys. So Kesha went to Mount Shasta because of Bigfoot. So that's that. Okay. So in August in August 2021, an older couple watched a black figure climbing up the mountain that's about 400 pounds. It had brown flowing hair and it was about 9 feet tall, and
Jeez.
watched them for about 5 minutes before he disappeared into the forest. I should not say he, because Bigfoot apparently is the type of Sasquatch species, but it's like multiple Bigfoots of that.
Right.
Yeah, so Bigfoot, female, male, both. They have different
Right.
Bigfoots.
Right.
All right. So, so there's like, yeah, so in August 2021, the couple saw Bigfoot. They said that he was about 400 pounds, about 9 feet tall. And yeah, apparently he was just looking at them, watching them through the forest, and then decided to go back into the forest.
Well, thank God.
So that's Bigfoot. But guess what else can be found in Mount Shasta that has quite a few reports?
What?
All right, so there have
Oh
been
boy.
reports of encounters with a legendary flying cryptid called the Bat Squatch. It's about
Oh.
7 to 9 feet tall. It has bright yellow eyes, dark blue fur, sharp teeth, a dog like muzzle, very long bat like wings, and has feet that look like birds' feet.
Okay.
And the first time Bat Squatch was sighted was actually near Mount St. Helens in the 80s. But then again, as in 2009, Bat Squatch was seen not in Mount St. Helen, but in Mount Shasta. And then ever since then, there's been several sightings of the Bat Squatch in Mount Shasta as well.
Both are volcanoes with national parks, so.
Mm-hmm. So, several hikers said that they witnessed a huge creature with leather wings spanning about 50 feet, flying out of the crevice in the mountain. And then, they described the creature as having a similar head to a pterodactyl, but then after they looked at it, it looked like it was a flying fox. So,
Okay, yeah, I've seen those.
yeah, so that's Bat Squatch. Let me go and show you guys Bat Squatch. So those are what the Lemurians were AI generated to look like. Oh yeah, here's Kida of Atlantis, because I was mentioning Atlantis and Lemurians earlier with the crystal and her being taken over by the light. But
Such a good
here, of
movie.
course, is Bigfoot, our lovely Bigfoot. You guys know what Bigfoot looks like. Everybody knows Bigfoot. Bigfoot is very, very famous, very, very
Mr.
popular.
Sassy Squatch.
The least, like, a lot of people actually have never heard of Bat Squatch, but here is a picture of Bat Squatch. Next to
All
Mount,
right, it's
next to an exploding Mount Shasta,
I
by
was
the
gonna say,
way.
that is giving some James Cameron excitement.
Yeah, so that's what they believe
Explosions.
Bat Squatch looks
Sorry,
like.
no, it's Michael Bay.
There's also this one that looks like what Bat Squatch looks like.
Oh, I've
This
seen
one-
that one.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
they believe that he looks more like dog and bat-like. So for me, I feel like this is a closer
That one
description
looks a little
to him. Yeah, because this one looks a little bit like Bigfoot. This looks more like Bigfoot, you know?
werewolf.
But this one actually looks like what the description that they
Mhm.
described is, with the dog muzzle, with the chicken feet, and everything
If I
else.
saw that, I would shit my pants and die.
I would too. I would be like, I
Like,
am dead.
I'd be like, we're gonna
I
die,
am
dude. What is
dead.
that? Yeah. Like, it's over, man. Game over.
Oh yeah. So that's what
pack and
Bat
all.
Squatch looks like. It's a little Bat Squatch. Okay. Let's go back here. Let's go to my notes. So here's some more. We're going to go back to Lemurians in a way. So there was a person that worked on the trade of gold. And so his name was J.C. Brown. And so J.C. Brown, can we scroll down, please, on my notes? Thank you. J.C. Brown claimed that he went to Mount Shasta, got lost, and found himself in a cave. And within that cave, he found a golden tomb underground. And yeah, through one of the caves, he went inside one of the caves, went underground, and found himself a golden tomb. And he claimed that he found 10 mummified bodies in the cave, which was and the cave was like full of gold, treasure, shields. So he mentioned it's a gold room with treasure everywhere. There is a lot of gold in Mount Shasta, but if you guys decide to go to Mount Shasta and get gold, most of that gold is claimed. So don't take it, because you will get in trouble for it. So a lot of the gold on Mount Shasta, even though it's there's like territories that are claimed by specific people. So don't just be stealing gold from Shasta, because you're stealing from someone. But there's a lot of gold that can be found on Mount Shasta. So anyway, so this guy named JC Brown went inside a cave, found an underground tomb that was gold laden, and there was jewels and treasures and shields in there. And then he
Oh,
found
touch it.
10 mummified bodies, and each of these bodies were about 7 to 12 feet tall.
More giants. Okay.
Yep, so they were mummified just like the ones that were found there, but yeah, it's about like no, they found a skeleton outside of
Weird
it.
that there's mummified things.
Yeah, so they found a mum
You're
like
gonna be. It's just. It also relates to mine.
oh,
It's funny.
I am so excited for this.
Different,
So
but similar.
So, so he found this tomb, and after that, he grabbed what he could and left. And then one
Mm-mm.
day, he told his friend 30 years later that he thinks he found the city of Talos. He believed that this tomb was attached to the tunnel systems and was probably a burial site for people that lived in the city of Talos. And so, after 30 years of thinking about this, he decided to tell his friend about it, and they decided to go to Stockton, California, and gather people that were interested in finding this cave because he said he remembered the cave location and everything else. And so he
Right.
managed to gather a team of 80 people to go and explore this thing. He didn't like from what I heard is there was no charge. Like literally he invited people to help him like take the treasures from there. So like there was no like charge for it. He was just wanted to show them, and he wanted to like share the treasure because there was too much for just one person, and it would be easier to like excavate it and
I would
take it
just
out,
think it's
etc.
cursed. I'd be scared to touch it. I'd be like, that shit's got to have a curse on it. There's no
Mm-hmm.
way.
Hello, Narik. Welcome in. So, anyways, he gathered about 80 people to join the exploration team. But on the day that they were set to go to the location,
Uh oh.
JC Brown never showed up. Actually, he didn't just not show up. JC Brown disappeared and was never found or heard of again. Like, people say,
Yep.
did he just ditch, or did something or someone decide to keep him quiet and either abduct him or, you know,
I was about to say, my mind goes to, was he finally telling people about this? Did someone try to kidnap him and make him tell them? Like, where is it, And then they
yep,
killed him, or
who knows?
you would never know if they found it because you don't know where it's at. So it's like,
Exactly. So apparently, on the day that they were supposed to go on this escapade, he just disappeared, and he was never heard of before. He's never found before. Some people say that they found someone that might be JC Brown, but wasn't really sure about it. But yeah, JC Brown himself just disappeared from the world and was never heard of it before. So he tried to get an exploration team there, and people believe that either he was telling a lie or he was telling a
right.
truth and was told, "You better be quiet." So,
They say it could be that too. It could be someone else,
or it could be some.
bigger found out or
Mm-hmm.
something else.
And they're like, "We want to keep that treasure to ourselves, so we're gonna keep you." So with Mount Shasta, it is dangerous because, well, it's a mountain. It's got different climates. You've
Right.
got different monsters, different creatures there. But it's also notorious for a lot of missing people. There are so
Hmm.
many missing people, so many unsolved cases relating to Mount Shasta. And actually, one of the more popular ones that like circulated on everywhere that I search is like about this little boy. So basically, this little boy went camping with his family,
I know this
and
one.
he went missing. He was about 3 years old, and he went missing. And so the family and a search party went and searched for him for about 5 hours and couldn't find him. But then eventually, he kind of just appeared in a place that they thoroughly checked, and he was there, and he was able to get reunited with his family. But not more than a few weeks later, he was hanging out with his grandma Cappy, and he just goes out of nowhere. He goes, "I don't like the other grandma Cappy." And his grandmother's like, "What?" And he's all like, "Well, remember that time that I went missing in Mount Shasta? Well, I was taken by another grandma Cappy. She's a robot grandma Cappy." And so he basically said that she took him, she put him in this place, and there was a ladder in this little, like, she made him walk down the ladder. And yeah, she kept him underground and like was talking to him, and she was trying to tell him that, hey, your parents really aren't your parents. Your parents were selected um to carry you and give birth to you, but they're not really your family. Your family is like you are of an alien species, and they just chose a human host, and that is your human host, and they were trying to get him back. And so apparently, this Grandma Cappy was a robot, and his grandma's like, "How do you know he was?" I'm like, "How do you know that this Grandma Cappy was a robot?" Oh, thank you, Cortra. Thank you, thank you, thank
Yes, thank
you.
you.
And
Appreciate you.
so and so he mentioned like he goes, well, when she was climbing the ladder and the light shone through her, it showed like her skin became transparent, and it showed her skeletal robotic skeleton.
Right.
And so that's why he thought it was a robot, is because of Grandma Cappy. So he mentioned that this Grandma Cappy wasn't very nice to him, and basically tried to make him poop on a piece of paper.
What
And
the
he
fuck?
said he wasn't ready to go, so he couldn't poop on the piece of paper. But while she was waiting for him to try and poop, is when she was telling him that he was from an alien species.
Okay, that's
So
super weird. Trying to get a stool sample.
and so when
That's
he told his grandma
weird.
Cappy this, his grandma Cappy kind of talked to his dad. He's all like, "What is this?" And he's like, "I don't know. He's told me about it before, and I don't know where he's getting this from, but I don't know where he's getting his stories from. But it's just what he's been mentioning, and I've just kind of been like, okay, it's just like a kid using his imagination, etc." I
Right.
didn't think twice of it, but the grandmother took it a little seriously, because Grandma Cappy decided to go camping a few months prior to her going camping with their family. So a few months before this incident, she went camping over in Mount Shasta with some friends. And so what happened is, like, they all decided to go to bed, but then she woke up, but she woke up outside of her tent face down on the ground, and
Oh
she
no.
mentioned that she had a puncture wound on her on the back of her head. She mentioned that there was like this irritation and this puncture in the back of the head, and she didn't think much of it. She was like, maybe I got bit by a bug or a spider, but she was still very much like, why was I outside?
Outside my
Why
tent. Yeah.
why was I outside my tent? Why was I face down on the ground, etc. And so she has had different experiences before, so she wasn't surprised by her grandson telling her stories about this, because apparently she herself has had some weird experiences, specifically in Mount Shasta. And you
Right.
know how people say that when people deal with alien abductions and alien sightings, usually they are like within the family, like specific people that have an experience that's like extraterrestrial gets carried on to their family. Like usually if one person in the family
Right.
has it, most of the family also has it, kind of situation.
Interesting.
So that abductions are usually like within specific
I actually wasn't
families.
aware of that. I didn't.
Oh,
I never
oh,
knew that was a thing. Yeah.
yeah, so apparently like it's usually stays within the family. The abductions stay within the family. So if this generation is gone, the next generation will probably be the ones that are continued to get abducted, etc., or have experiences
That's
with
so interesting.
extraterrestrials.
I wonder if it's
so
like a genetic thing.
so that's the most
Like
famous
tracking.
story of like someone that went missing in Mount Shasta, but they were found. While I was doing my research, there was a documentary that was brought up about Mount Shasta, about a young man who went missing back in 2020. And it was actually on an episode of Disappeared. And it's disappeared, and it talks about the mountain of mystery, which is Mount Shasta. So there was this young boy named Devonte Morgan who had a girlfriend. They visited Mount Shasta for a trip, and he went missing in Mount Shasta. And there was a mailman that reported seeing him in different places throughout the day. Like he was lost, he was unaware of what he was doing, he was unaware of where he was at. He was telling him, I need to go to my hotel here. And he's like, there's no hotel there, etc. So apparently, there's a man that ran into Devonte a couple times while he was traveling around the city on his last day. Like the last time he saw him, he was traveling around the city,
Right.
lost, confused, dazed, unsure of what was going on. And so, as far back as 2020, he's been missing, and still at 2024, he hasn't been found. But the
Wow.
family decided to go to Mount Shasta themselves, to the city of Mount
Right.
Shasta, and visit. And Disappeared talks about their visit there, and it talks about like, because it is a black family, like they felt like they were shunned and they weren't taken
Right.
seriously. Like they mentioned putting up flyers of Devonte because they were trying to find him, and the next day all of the flyers were ripped off of
Like
the
people ripping
windows.
them down. That's
So it's
shady
like
too.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's a good thing to watch. This family has been looking for him.
Yes.
They've been holding hope for him. Apparently, he was a like he had a bright future for him, and it was a shame that he was gone. And they're still hoping that he would come back. But yeah, he's been missing since 2020. If you guys want to watch Disappeared: Mountain of Mystery, you get to learn more about Devonte Morgan. But I felt like it was important to mention it because, um, you know, people are still missing from Mount Shasta to this day, and that's just one of the ones that popped up in my search. I'm like, oh my god! And this family
And
literally
that's so
tried their hardest.
recent. Yeah.
Yeah, 2020, pretty
That's
close.
not that long. Yeah.
Yep. And so that's what I had for Mount Shasta. A little brief, right? An
Yeah.
hour and 30 minutes
Mm.
brief.
It was great. It took all kinds of twists and turns I was not expecting. I gotta tell you. And there's a lot of you're gonna be cracking up sometimes in those parts because boy, are they sisters or what? You
Like
know?
like when people say they're sister mountains, there's a reason why they're considered sister mountains, and
Oh
I
yeah, they're not
figured
kidding.
there was going to be a lot of paranormal activity on your part as well. So if you guys ever want to visit Mount Shasta, stay safe, stay on the roads. Even experienced hikers have gone missing on Mount Shasta, so be
Don't wander into any
cautious. Don't
tombs and
you know,
steal gold.
don't be crazy, don't be brave, don't do anything nuts. You're like, oh, it'll be fine. No, don't
Don't
play around.
be goober.
There's a lot of people that go missing. Like I said, experienced hikers have
Oh,
died, you know,
that's
and
actually something I wanted to talk about with yours that really so with the missing people in the national the reason why I asked about the national park is because especially with the mountain like you said there is a lot there's a whole series which I actually think you would really find interesting called Missing 411 and it's about all the like insane amount of people that go missing in national parks and there's a huge belief with some of the theories that it's portals or aliens or like it goes very deep. And these are documented real disappearances. Some people obviously fall or get attacked by animals, but there's just like an obscene amount of people that go missing in national parks, especially those connected to volcanoes. And that, I'm sorry, it was the Bat Squatch. With the
mhm.
Bat Squatch, how it was last seen at St. Helens. St. Helens is national park attached to a volcano and portals missing for like it all just was like, oh wow, that's
Yeah, a
it's
lot
all
of
very connected.
there actually it's
It
kind of strange
seems.
because there's a lot of stories relating to mountains in general being like
Mm-hmm.
some weirdness, some weird energy in mountains, and some like I said, there's like a lot of disappearances, like a lot of people go to the woods to like hide bodies, etc. But like, yeah,
Right.
it's a common thing. That's why one of my friends like, when I retire from the military, I'm gonna be what did like, what do you call those people that
A ranger,
a ranger? And I'm all like, ooh,
forest
I'm
ranger,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna hear all the stories of all the weird shit that happens in there. So
Yeah, they get to stay in those fire towers in the middle of
yeah.
the woods for like months at a time. That would be very interesting and creepy as fuck.
Well, it's kind of crazy because rangers, there's lots of stories of like different rangers that have been doing it for a while that like I've seen some shit. Like I've seen some
Oh
shit.
fuck yeah, I bet they
Actually,
do.
in the discussion of Momo, you know how they get mentioned that like the ranger mentioned that they saw Momo as well, and they're like
Yeah.
it's like the apparently like rangers see a lot of weird shit in the wood, like in the forest, supernatural, paranormal, and also human weird shit, you know?
Right,
But it's just
absolutely.
crazy. It's just crazy. So that was Mount Shasta. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to cover as many of the weird things on there, but like I said, if I was to go on full detail on all of these topics of
Right.
like this would be a two-parter, and we're trying to avoid two-parters because we already divide the podcast to like bite-sized sizes on Spotify, so I feel like having like the like episode is parters, and then they're gonna have to wait for the next one for the
Mhm.
next part. Especially since we only do this once a month, so I'm trying to like bang it out, you know, bang it out. But if I ever have to do a part two on something, if I ever do have to do a part two for
I'm a
something,
child, I'm sorry.
if I ever have to do a part two of anything, I might just record it the same month, but like by myself, pre-record it, and then just publish it as like a separate thing. But we'll get there when we get there. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Really, Redneck,
Or
I'm
you just release,
glad.
best say, I don't mind it being longer here live, and then again, you can always like split it into two parts for yours, and then mine be another episode, right? So it really don't stress yourself about it. You're doing great. You're doing
No,
great.
the podcast is doing
It was
great.
wonderful.
Thank you for posting that link for me, Papa Corcher. I really, really appreciate it. We
Yes.
are on Spotify, and
thank you guys so much for
the
being
link.
here.
Yeah, thank you for everyone that hung
It
out
means the
here.
world to us.
Oh, I'm glad that you found it really interesting. Like I said, Mount Shasta is crazy, but guess what? We're
There's
gonna
so
learn
much.
that Mount Fuji is also just as crazy.
Oh my goodness, the
All right.
energy is crazy on volcanic mountains. I'll tell you that much.
Do you need a break before you start or anything
Yes,
like that?
I think we should take a little pee break. Everyone, get your liquids, get your bathroom breaks in. We will be right back in just a few minutes.
All right, I'm gonna pre-roll and add you guys, and then we'll be back in about 3 minutes. So grab your water, grab your snackies, and we'll be back. All right, here we go, you guys. Let's go. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We're happy to be back. Thank you for that raid, Smoke and Shield Games. We're so happy to have you here. How was your stream? Hopefully you had a good stream. Yeah, I just finished talking about the amazing location called Mount Shasta. And we were just talking about all the weirdness that is in Mount Shasta, all the paranormal, unexplained things on Mount Shasta. And we talked about the alien species, the Lemurians. It was a fun topic. I enjoyed talking about it. I probably was talking 1,000 miles a minute. I don't know if I was. I'm sorry if I was, you guys. I tend
You
to
did
like,
amazing.
I tend to like
You
go
really
really,
did.
really fast from when I was like listening to the
Well, it's like
podcast.
nerves, and you're trying to like, get the info out there. I completely get it. It do be like that. Don't you worry. You did good.
I was
You did
hoping
good.
for
It was nice
generic
and
soda
concise.
kiwi strawberry, a variety from Shasta. I love Shasta sodas. I love Shasta sodas. They're
I've never
great.
had Shasta. I don't know what that is.
It might be a our coast situation.
Say
It might
our
be.
coast.
It might be. So we just finished talking about Mount Shasta, about the paranormal things that happen there, about the aliens, about the bat squash, about the Bigfoot. But now on to a heavier topic. So, Miso, go ahead and do your
Classic
little
me. So,
thing. Do your thing. Let everybody know what
so
it's about, so that people
hey
are
guys.
aware of what is going to
Sorry,
be
let me get
discussed
my
on
little
this.
notes here where I need them. So, as you guys know, I love to just be the Debbie Downer. So, today we're gonna be talking about like she said, it's a bit of a heavier topic. Is the Okahara. Now I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. I'm a hick. It is what it is. The Okahara Forest in Japan. It's also known as the Sea of Trees or the Suicide Forest. Um, I feel like most people have probably at least heard of it in passing or because of the unfortunate piece of shit YouTuber Jake Paul or Logan Paul. Was it Logan? One of those
One
Pauls.
of the
One of
Pauls.
them. One of
They're both
them.
terrible. They're
Yeah.
both terrible.
Anyway, but this is a trigger warning because obviously with the name, the Suicide Forest, I'm not going to get into like gory details or anything like that nature, but it's going to be covered a lot because it's what makes this forest so, I guess, like unique besides its geography and its like, it's dense forestry, which is why it's called the Sea of Trees. But this is a trigger warning. If you are a little, if you get triggered by talks of suicide, self-harm, attempted suicide, I completely understand if you need to turn this off or walk away or whatever you need to do. It's 100% understandable. Also, if you're in the US, the suicide crisis hotline is 988. Um, and if you're ever feeling hopeless or lost, please, please, please reach out. I just wanted to get that out there, and I'll give everybody a few seconds to kind of compose. Because if we joke or anything, we're not joking about that. We are just making light of not making light, but like trying to lighten up a heavy topic. And we're not gonna do anything distasteful, obviously, anything like that. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of everything that's going on. But again, I'm gonna try to keep it as light as possible, and it's very interesting for me. Um, and I know it's like everyone's like, why would you choose that? But it's a beautiful and tragic, right? It's got like a tragic beauty to it. Like, and that's what makes it so mysterious to me is like, and here in a minute you're gonna see, I will tell you when to pull it up, but you're gonna see it's a very beautiful, it's such a beautiful place. It's just lush and full of trees. And it's crazy that somewhere like that could draw such a reputation, right? Because you see somewhere so beautiful, you don't think of such tragedies. Um, but we're gonna get into it. So if I can stop choking. But yeah. Again, I do understand if you step away, but let's get into it. So the Okahara Forest. As you can tell, I sound again like a hick, but I do love the name the Sea of Trees, and it really fits because it is a giant, lush forest. It's just endless trees. It's a sea of trees. I like that a lot more than the Suicide Forest. Okahara is a nice name too, but it lays at the bottom of Mount Fuji, on the island on Honshu in Japan. Honshu. I can't pronounce things. But like Daku's, it was created on the top of hardened lava, which was caused by the last Mount Fuji eruption around 864 CE. And Daku, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the first set of photos for
You
me.
got it, baby. You got it. Let me go ahead and get rid of Mount. Goodbye, Mount Shasta. And
My,
here
but
is
yeah, like Mount
here is the
Shasta,
picture of Mount Fuji. I think this is from like a different point of view than what most people see.
yeah.
Most people see the water.
Hmm.
This is a different view of Mount Fuji, but that's where the sea of trees are, or sea of forest of
See
trees,
the
sea of trees.
sea
There
of
we go.
trees. Yep,
That's the
you can
word.
see
I know
the
words.
edge.
I
Hey,
know
I don't know
words.
words. Words are hard.
There we go.
Words are hard. And that's kind of like a geographic. I don't remember the word for maps, but you can see where it's kind of Okahara right there.
Where it's
At
located
the
from
base
Mount
of Mount
Fuji. So
Fuji.
that is Mount
Hmm.
Fuji, and it's in that part of
And it's
Mount Fuji.
literally, yeah, and all those trees and things are literally grown from that last, like, on top of the lava and rock and all that's like, activity from the last eruption. So I think there's a couple more.
Oh, you want to see the rest?
Just that first
The first set.
collage.
The first set. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another picture of Mount Fuji. Sorry, guys. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. You can see there's kind of like different angles of it. The top one you can really see you can see the sea of trees. If you're listening to this, it's literally like endless green plush trees with a beautiful tall mountain with a snow cap on it. It also has the water, and again, it kind of shows different seasons, but just a general gist of how dense and big, why it's called the Sea of Trees. Um, but kind of like Daku's and Shasta, you have the same kind of clouds, right? So it's just very.
Lenticular clouds. Yeah, lenticular clouds are
Hmm.
crazy cool. They're really, really cool.
Again, it's a volcano, so you got all that volcanic rock and everything. But so it's grown on the lava rock, which is very high in deposits of magnetic iron and
Ooh.
volcanic soil, which we will touch back on later. Hmm. And
Magnetic field. Oh
right, but
my.
say, interesting that we'd come
Sounds
back to that,
familiar.
isn't it?
Sounds a little familiar.
A
Feels
little
a little
bit.
familiar, right? Oh my god, what is happening? Please hold. What is happening? Please hold.
1,000 cuts.
Sorry. I don't know what happened. I pushed a key and it just went to a
It wanted
different
you to play a
scene.
game now. It was like, I'm done now.
Sorry guys. I'm back. I'm back. I'm not gonna touch my I'm not touching my mouse. I'm not touching my keyboard anymore.
Am I centered?
You're centered on like my screen kind of. Do you need me to fix you
Okay.
up?
No,
You're
I'm just making sure.
Yeah, you're a little closer to me in the middle because I was trying to like keep our faces
No, you're good. I'm
together
making.
so I can
It's hard for
touch
me to
you.
see it.
So I can
Oh,
just touch you.
oh, yes.
And then it makes room for our models on the little edges, like right
No,
here.
you're perfect. I was making
Yeah.
sure because I have it small over here, so it's hard for me to see where I'm at. I want to make sure I'm not
Mhm.
like half like, oh,
Stop pushing buttons. I'm
all right.
sorry, Redneck. I will. I'll stop. I'll stop. Oh
But
god.
we like buttons.
I like
I
okay,
like push
if I'm not
buttons.
supposed to push a button, why is it
Why is
there?
it a button? Why
Oh
is it a
my
button?
gosh, kind of like when I was playing the Batman game this week. Like I immediately pushed a button, immediately died. I'm like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't push buttons in a Riddler cave." But here we are,
Well, he
pushing
would get me every
buttons.
time.
Epic's
He
like,
would literally get me every
Epic
fucking time
said,
because I'd be like,
"Push my buttons," says Epic.
if it says don't push it, I'm probably gonna push that button.
Like now, no,
Like,
no, don't tell me what to
what else you
do.
want me to
Like,
see?
don't tell me what to do. Now I have to push the button because you told me not to push the button. And I have to make a point.
Like, what are you hiding from me? But and as you guys can guess by the name, the Suicide Forest, this is a very popular location for people to come and in their lives, unfortunately. And as you can imagine, with any place where there's like a lot of death, there's this very heavy feeling that is noted when entering Okahara. Um, it's very eerie, and of course, there's a lot of talk of spiritual or paranormal activity. Um, and words, especially in a place where that death comes from struggling and depression. It's such like a heavy, right? It's a very heavy feeling. It leaves like an energy. So that's something that's been noted by a lot of people that enter the forest. That's something we'll also touch back on as well, a little more on why people might feel that way. This is such a popular place to go and end your life that since 1970 they do an annual body search. And they find bodies every year. And since 1950, suicides in the forest have been increasing. And in 2003, in particular, they found over 105 bodies. But some of these bodies were from decades earlier. Because again, like we talked about,
I have a
super.
question.
What's up, Boo Boo?
You
Yes.
finish your sentence and then I'll ask my question after you finish that
Oh,
sentence.
I was just gonna say they didn't find some of these. Some of these are from decades earlier, and this broke the record of 78 bodies from 2002. But since it's a sea of trees, you get why like someone would walk in their life and not get found for decades because it's so thick. Even with them doing annual searches, you might not be found ever. But go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if you're going to cover this, but is there a particular reason why it's more so and the reasons behind it? Some people say it's because of depression. Some people say they're trying to move to the next cycle of life and they felt like the closest like I
Oh
don't
yeah.
so I don't know
Oh,
if
we're
it's more
absolutely,
based
yeah.
on depression or more based on people trying
There's
or is it a combination of
right.
both
I
or
think
different
it's a
things?
combination of a little bit of different things, little A, little B, and I think it also depends on the person. But we are definitely going to be touching on the different theories as to why this beautiful place draws so much death. Um, but yeah, absolutely. There's quite a few different theories. And it's kind of like yours where I had to pick and choose, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot
Right?
of like a lot of different folklore from different parts of the world. And obviously, the one that I care most about is the local lore, the Japanese lore behind it, because obviously, this is their home. This is something that is historically and spiritually significant there. So, you know, but yeah, they were definitely going to touch on that. But even with so much death, because uh oh sorry, I lost my oh the name Sea Trees, which again I prefer that, the darker nickname, since it became such a popular place. Again, we saw it kind of being discussed more after some YouTubers had gone there, and just in pop culture and the, you know, the technology advancing, social media, a lot more people know about it. So the Japanese government actually stopped releasing the death numbers per year after, I think it was after 2003, or maybe it might have been later, I'm not sure when they stopped, but recently they don't release the numbers of how many people they found dead in that year's search. They are hoping it kind of like deters people from going there, you know, and doing horrible things.
So
um
they're trying to find
right.
solutions to this
Exactly. They're
obvious
trying to deter it as much as
problem.
possible because yeah. And that's something I'll, again, a lot of this is going to get touched back on because it's kind of layered, right? Um but there's even signs outside and inside and throughout the forest urging people to, you know, turn back, seek help. Don't do this. One says think carefully about your children and your family. Another will say like your life is a precious gift from your parents. And I think I have a second set, you don't mind pulling it up for me, of
You
photos. And
got
these
to,
are just signs
babe.
with the Japanese writing of this, you know, the please turn back. Here's the suicide hotline, things of that nature. You see two different signs here, and they are posted all throughout the forest.
Aw.
And again, this is a popular place for just tourism too. Don't
Yeah.
get it wrong, but you know, obviously it has very, with the amount of people that go there and do this, it has its reputation. So that's why we're discussing it today. Um, but many tents and personal items are found abandoned in the forest. And again, not all these are from people that go there to end their lives. Some people just are, you know, lazy and they go camping and they don't want to clean up their stuff.
Or they
But
tag things because they're stupid and
mhm,
they have like this arrogant,
yes,
fragile ego that needs to like
humans,
tag things to make themselves feel seen and
yeah,
heard.
humans are weird. I don't know why they do the things they do, but yeah, they there's a lot of tents banned there, but a lot of them are from people that go there and are either contemplating committing suicide or do unfortunately end their lives. Along with tents, they find a lot of like glasses, uh, shoes, clothing, food items, books, things that people would take with them if they're on the fence. You know what I mean? Or they're getting ready to, and they're like kind of living out their last day, but I think that's set number 3.
Yep.
I think
Oh,
most of
you
my
want to see
pictures are
the
in the front.
personal items? Yeah, you
Yeah,
got it.
sorry.
No problem.
So if you're listening, this is literally just a collage of different photos from, again, nothing gory or anything. It's just abandoned tents. There's some glasses, wallet. We get some rope and water bottles and abandoned fire. Things you would see at campsites, right? But of course, with these, it's a little bit of a darker feeling because it's a good chance that whoever left these is no longer with us. So, and they find this a lot, and at a lot of these campsites, sometimes nearby, they will find people that have ended their lives. So the whole forest is kind of littered with this kind of stuff, especially the deeper in you go. And again, you could come across something or someone that's been there for decades because it's just that deep, but you're really not supposed to go off the trail. Again, we'll touch back on that too. But along with tents and belongings to people who are undecided on what they want to do, people not, again, not just people going there for the dark reasons, but also people just going off trail will tie tape, strings, rope of all different colors, and that's like tags, essentially non-damaging tags. Usually, it's like rope and stuff to make like a breadcrumb trail, right? So that they can find their way out. Because it's the sea of trees. It's a very dense, very thick forest, and a lot of it looks all very similar. And a lot of people will get lost. And that's why they're like, hey, don't go off trail unless you're law enforcement or part of the searchers. You can get lost very easily. So a lot of people will put rope and stuff up, and a lot of people who are there for the darker reason will also put string and rope up in case they decide I want to live. So if you will show the next set.
Sure thing. Ring. All right. Oh, this is your final set.
Yep. Most of them were up front. But as you guys can see, and if you're listening, it is multiple photos throughout the forest of different colored strings and ropes, just everywhere, really, like spider webbing. Like it's a lot. There's a lot of them. And they even come through and they clean it up quite often, more often than they do the body searches, because they have like rangers and things of that nature as well, that just are kind of around. But people will, they'll clean it up, and it's still just spider webbing all over the place, different strings and rope and caution tape, all the things.
If I ever go there, I would need a
So
custom
and
rope. I would need a custom rope. It's gonna be
right,
super.
it
It's
needs
gonna be black and pink with glitter, so that it doesn't get tangled in with all the other ropes. Because
reflective.
I noticed in this picture
It's a lot,
you've
yeah.
got a bunch of people with the same white rope in them all. Like
Mhm.
you can
It's
get
very
like
tangled,
something can
yeah.
happen where it tangled, and then you'll end up following the wrong string. So I'm gonna make
Yeah.
sure that my string is going to be very, very much different from what I could
Mhm.
possibly imagine being there, so that it wouldn't get lost even more
As you
so.
can see from those, it was and if you're listening, the forest is like, I can't express to you enough how thick this forest is, not just with other trees, but it's very mossy. The floor is very
I mean,
dense with like a
is
thick
the tree shown in this
mossy.
picture? Is it shown in this picture? Oh no, not that picture. Are
That
these the trees?
is,
Is that just like is that grass or is that actual
those are
treetops?
trees. These are all
Those are
trees.
the trees. So
That's
if you guys
all treetops,
do you
yeah.
guys see how
It's
condensed all those
crazy.
trees are? It's so
Yeah.
condensed that it looks
Literally,
like
you can't
grass.
comprehend it. Yeah. You couldn't comprehend the amount of trees, which again, the trees, like it's just insanely dense. But
Let's
many searchers, yeah, it's insane. And like she said, it's the amount of ropes there is kind of crazy, especially because again, they clean it up. So, and it's not all people there for nefarious or dark reasons. Yes, I know. But a lot of that is. And a lot of times, searchers will follow those ropes, especially ones that are kind of like really deep and by themselves, like kind of like, whoa. Because you can kind of tell when it's been like a bunch of tourists, right? Because it's like she said, the same kind of rope in the same spot, going kind of slightly different directions, but tied off at the same spot. And that's usually people that are going off trail, but not really going that deep. But a lot of times when they find ones that are really deep or by themselves, they'll follow it and they'll find an abandoned tent with personal belongings, and sometimes even a body. And again, sometimes these bodies are decades old. And I think that's just so crazy. Like, and sometimes it's not as deep as you would think, just in a direction they don't go as often. Or some tourist or somebody just happens to go into a cave or go somewhere that someone hasn't been. And then they find somebody. And it's just so tragic. But why? Why do so many people seek out this place to end their lives? It's such a beautiful forest. Why Okahara?
That is the
Is it
question.
right? Is it the privacy? Is it the dense forest? Again, they don't find a lot of bodies for many, many years. Is it the location of Mount Fuji? Or is it something more at play? So now we're gonna kind of touch into the theories, right? So Okahara Forest, and again, so sorry if I'm butchering that. There's probably someone that knows Japanese or a Japanese speaking person that's probably listening to this, like, oh God, Jesus, you cannot pronounce for shit. But Okahara Forest has long been associated with death and evil spirits known as Yuri, which we talked about Yuri's before, right? I know. I was talking about this earlier, Epic. I really do. I always pick something that I can't pronounce with my damn. Hey, I listened to it. That's pretty close, just with a hick accent. Go listen to it on Google. Okay, it's Okahara. Okahara. Okay. Eh. I barely speak English. Okay, bear with me. um, but we've talked about Yuri before. They're essentially Japanese spirits, usually
I
associated with evil spirits.
think that came up in the top in the one that just launched in Spotify today. That was in episode 6
That's
when we were
funny.
talking about the Kuchisaki Onna.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
you
you were
mentioned it
correct.
during the Kuchisaki
That's funny.
Onna. Yeah.
Big circle, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
But this reputation of death started with the alleged, and I say alleged because there is some historians that say yes, this happened, and there's some that say no, it didn't happen. I'm not a historian. I don't know enough to say for sure. So it started with the alleged practice of ubasati, uh, where they would take the elderly or sick, and carry them into the forest or somewhere secluded to die. Generally, practiced in times of great desperation, like famine. The people would die of starvation, dehydration, or exposure. Though there's those who also argue that the practice was never real, but the product of folklore, which also potentially spawned from the tragic amount of suicides in the forest itself. So it's a chicken or egg situation, right? So some people believe that this practice in the forest, the folklore came from because so many people have been here committing suicide. Some people, which one came first? Uh, and or was it even real? But that's why I say alleged. And again, I can't pronounce things, so buckle up, buckaroo.
My
Every time.
my fucked up brain has created this whole entity that it's like a voice in the forest that tells you to do it. Like for me, that's what I feel like. There's like a voice in the forest that's whispering in your ear saying, "Do it." That's what
That's
I'm imagining right now. But
well, I say, well, definitely, that's definitely a heavy theory for sure. Um, no matter though, the practice is said to of depending on the chicken or egg, right? Uh, if there's a theory that this practice of abandoning the sick or elderly in the forest to die is what started an angry cycle of Yuri in the forest. And the legend says that they're angry spirits call to desperate souls who travel into the forest contemplating the worst already or know of the place, and it encourages them to end their lives. Like you said, we're about to get into that theory. Um, Now, many spiritualists believe that Yuri only grow with each person who ends their lives. like their power, their energy only grows. They kind of absorb that person. That person gets trapped there as well. They feed on that energy, what have you. They also believe that tragedy permeates energy into the thick walls of the forest, and because of how the forest is, it leaves it like cursed. And you get that it's a very well documented heavy and sad, eerie feeling. And there's this silence in this forest that's documented, unlike pretty much any forest I've ever heard of. Another reason I found this place so interesting is it's very, very silent and eerie. Now, again, anyone that knows, like, if someone told me, hey, someone ended their life in here and I walked in there, I'd feel kind of off, right? So maybe it's just the fact that you know, but it's kind of hard to debate when it's such a documented, like, all kinds of people go in there like, whew, I feel
Yeah.
tired, I feel sad, I feel drained, and that's very well documented with a lot of heavy hauntings as
Yeah,
well
like
and
a
things of that nature.
like
Hmm.
what they believe is there's a corruption in the energy there. Kind of, I
Right,
know I'm gonna go
exactly.
nerdy here. Kind of like every time somebody dies a terrible death somewhere, whether it be through murder or through some unfortunate accident, um, there is something that gets left there. Kind of like if you play
Yes.
games like Vampire the Masquerade, you get a
Yes, I
permanent
love Vampire the
mark on your
Masquerade.
spirit. Like you get a permanent mark on your being of like this shame, and it's like that energy. And it's kind of like with Harry Potter, where Horcruxes were made because
Hmm.
of deaths happening in each of these locations. And it's very common for like haunted locations because of so much energy, like the hotel. Is it Hotel Cecil? Like that.
Yeah,
Like
the
there's
Cecil
just,
Hotel.
yeah. And so for
Yeah,
me, it's just one of those things that it's just like I truly believe
it's
that
an energy.
energy
Yeah.
affects a specific
Hmm.
area, and I truly believe that if enough of that specific energy starts to build up there, it starts to create like this bubble of like this contained energy of this horrible energy, and that's what haunted places are. So
Right.
like, but the
And
silence, I wonder if other haunted locations have the dead silence that the Sea of Trees have, or do you think it's
it seems
completely,
very
or it's even
I don't know
worse?
if it's so even if you go and look up videos people have been in there, sometimes you might hear a bird or two, but it's so quiet. Like if you've ever been hiking in general, there's usually the sound of just nature, right? And it's just like this eerie, creepy silence. And again, it's very well documented. Um, but I also fully believe it depends on the energy you go in with as well, and your mind at the time. Like you said, it's energy, it feeds.
It's
It
what
depends on who you
it depends
are.
on what,
Yeah.
and like it depends on what
Hmm.
outlets you leave open based on you not
Exactly.
protecting yourself
Hmm.
or creating some kind of like protective ward or protective bubble on yourself. So if there's like something that's not quite right,
Hmm.
it gives it like an entry point for
Right. And
it
so
to
if
fuck
you're
with you.
yeah, and if you're somewhere with like deep tragedy and sadness, and you're already like for a lot of these people that do come here debating this horrible thing, they're already very vulnerable, right? They're already in a bad mindset. So if this could, like I said earlier, I believe it's probably a mixture of things. Like they come here, they're already going through a lot, they're already struggling, and then these possibly this energy or spirit or whatever it may be is drawing them in or calling them
Join
in, or
us.
yes,
Do it.
exactly.
Join us. We'll
Right.
be with you.
Right, you won't be alone, or like, just making them think bad thoughts maybe, you know what I mean? Like, and it's very well documented, and a lot of people who have gone in and come out with they go in with possible intentions of self-harm, they come out and they're like, well, I changed my mind, but I could have sworn I saw somebody, or could have sworn I heard something, or I felt this overwhelming sadness. It got so much worse when I was in there. But some people do actually have the opposite, thing. They're like, oh, my mother came to me, or, it's very person to person. But even with people that don't go there, just tourists that go there, they feel that heaviness, that sadness, that especially again when you go off trail, you go deep into the thickness of the Sea of Trees, you feel that overwhelming silence, right? And
Yeah.
that sadness. So
And
I think
for
that's very interesting.
so the interesting part about that is, you know how I was mentioning the fact that, there's like a lot of haunted places aren't as silent, but the Sea of Trees is older than any building that we have here. So any haunted place, the Sea of Trees was probably there long before all of that happened.
I
So it
mean,
could be that the reason the silence is there is because it's had the spirits of people captured within it since the beginning of time, since the beginning of the forest coming to
yeah.
existence.
If I say the forest started around after the explosion in 864 CE, so it's yeah, it's got a lot of history, and we're gonna get more into that as well. There's even more there than just the, uh, suicides and things of that nature, or the practice of leaving the elderly, alleged practice of leaving the elderly and sick to die, which I could believe as well because we talked about this with the changelings uh during times of famine and stuff. People would be like, oh, my baby's a changeling, I got to get rid of it. So I can believe it. I hope not, right? Like, obviously, um again, it's a very debated thing, historically speaking, but I could believe it just because people, it happens sometimes in history when people are starving, and they think that's the more reasonable thing to do than the whole family die. I mean, it would have had to been very desperate times, but um people who hike through the forest, like we said, they have this feeling of like someone's watching me, a feeling of panic, anxiety, as if the trees are trying to swallow them up and engulf them. Some experience overwhelming sadness and crying or the feeling of mourning. There is a lot of reports of people, especially people that stay the night there, hearing things, seeing full body apparitions and orbs. And I tried to find some possible videos and stuff, and I couldn't really find anything that wasn't like nonsense from, like, you know how it is now. It's really hard to find anything legitimate, but there might be a reason for that, and I will get back into that
Different
later.
caliber of people as well. Very different caliber of
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
very different caliber of like
Mhm.
thinking. So it
Mhm.
could also be because of the fact that it's that.
Right. And these voices in the forest, allegedly not only uh try to lure you in, but they will taunt, they will scare and mock people. And they'll be like, hey, come off the trail, or they will pretend to be people, like dead loved ones, like, oh, mommy's in the forest, come be with mommy forever, type of thing. So, and it's also believed, and you kind of talked about this already, uh it's also believed that leaving a corpse alone, especially one who passed in tragic circumstances, is very bad luck, and it will leave a Yuri, or a spirit of victims uh, that passed in these tragic acts, causing them to be angry and violent and screaming through the night. Which, anyone, it's like some, not anyone, some people who have braved overnight stays in the forest have reported hearing screaming in the dead silence at night. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with how dark cave darkness is, like how just dark it can get, but that's essentially how dark it gets for in the Sea of Trees, because it's so thick with trees, there's no light. Like, very little light permeates. It's even kind of like dark during the day, especially in some places where it's thicker.
That's very creepy. That's
Yes.
very creepy.
I would literally, I even have it in my notes. Like, I cannot imagine being in this cave darkness sea of trees in a tent and hearing like blood curdling screaming in the middle of the night. I would literally ascend. I would rocket ship through the trees and just fly to the heavens. I'd be gone. I would just I would just Thanos snap. Like, I would freak the fuck out. That would be terrifying. I can't imagine that. I literally shit my pants. The pantalones would be soiled. Um but yeah, I can even imagine that. Also, I can't imagine staying somewhere like that overnight in general. That'd be very scary. I would not like that. Um, and we're actually about to touch on the silence of the forest.
Oh, here we go.
Yes. Now, the forest, like I said before, is said to be dead silent, lacking any normal sounds you'd think you would hear, and like this like it's a very lush forest. It has a lot of fauna, a decent amount of bugs, but because of its location at the base of Mount Fuji, the terrain being uneven, it's very rocky. It's filled with twisting, dense trees and perforated throughout with hundreds of caves. There's tons and tons of caves. Some of them you can go to as a tourist, you know. Um, and the trees are so dense, in fact, that it's hard for any wind to permeate through the outside walls of them. So very, very little wind actually gets into the inside of the forest. So no wind disturbances, and all these factors create this deadly stillness. Um, and these characteristics of the forest as well make wildlife very sparse. And it leads to this very dead silent, surreal feeling because there's not a lot of animals that live there because it's not very like it's very lush with plants and stuff, but it's not very habitable for a living mammal. You know, maybe a little bit of birds and some bugs and stuff like that, but it's not very like there's not a lot of deer and stuff. You might catch like an animal on the outskirts, but again, it's just very hostile for living creatures essentially. Like it's not like a super cozy place
Mm-hmm.
to be. Uh and we talked to you kind of talked about this in yours as well. Well, it's kind of connected to why yours might have this issue. Um, Shasta, a lot of people report compasses, cell phones, flashlights, cameras, GPS, everything, any kind of electronic device freaking out here. They report them freaking out as soon as
Magnetic
they get to a
field.
certain point. Exactly. Uh, though many do go and not have any issues, unfortunately, cough cough, Logan, I said in my notes, Logan piece of shit Paul, he didn't have any issues, but you know, a lot of people do. It's documented uh by a lot of people, um compass specifically. And this is because of magnetic fields, right? And this is we're looping back to what Okahara is made out of, and that is, or well, I guess what it's grown out of, and that's rock lava and iron.
Mm-hmm.
The properties of which I know some of you, Epic and others who are familiar with like supernatural lore and things of that nature, magnetic fields, iron are known to cause, you know,
A
issues with the
disruption.
compasses.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Iron is also something that is sorry.
I guess there's
Iron.
no fairy folk there because it's
No, they don't
grown
like
on
it. I was
iron.
actually that's something
It's
else.
grown on iron or
Yep.
iron ore. They can't exist there, you guys. There is no fae. So if you want to go somewhere with no fae, there's no fae there. But
They say, well, rock, lava, and iron have very high magnetic field properties, and that would obviously make compasses and things go crazy. It could disrupt electronic things. It can also, in the effects of the human brain, large magnetic fields have been shown in scientific studies to cause paranoia, uh, sometimes even like possible hallucinations and things of that nature. Um, and this is another reason those disturbances with the compasses and GPS are another reason they really urge people, hey, do not go off the trail because you could get lost. Even if you're not looking to kill yourself, you can get lost and die out here from exposure super easily.
oh
People
yeah,
underestimate how easy it is to get lost in forests and parks and all these places. They really, really underestimate how easy it is to get lost and not do well. Yeah, again, some people go there not to die, just to explore, and they get consumed by the forest. But things like iron also are thought, and this is where it's very interesting, kind of like a contradiction. Things like iron are also known to be protective agents against spirits, which makes me wonder if it's like a fishbowl because of like they're trapped in there because the iron is keeping them in an area, right? Like maybe it's also kind of
it's
fishbowling
like an
them.
iron trap,
Yes,
and they're
exactly.
forced within that iron trap
Exactly.
because of where it's grown,
Um,
and that's why there's so much activity. Is
yes.
because they can't move
They're
on
they're
because there's
condensed.
an
They
iron
can't
trap.
leave. Yeah. Yeah, they can't leave. and that would piss off anybody, I'm sure, which would make them more powerful Yuris and so on and so forth. I also wonder if the magnetic properties would disrupt the energy of the spirits and make them become more lost and confused in like a labyrinth of a forest. Which again, if you lose your body, especially in like Japan's thoughts, I guess, like their mythos or legends and stuff like that, you lose your body or your body gets moved or lost, it's like really bad. Like it'll make the Yuri, you become a Yuri faster, it'll make you more angry. Again, Yuris are more like poltergeist, I guess would be our equivalent. Angry, demonic almost spirits. Uh ba, 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 ba. There's also people who believe that iron and other magnetic properties can enhance energy that spirits use. Magnetic energy more so than the iron energy. I've seen people say like magnetic fields can be used to boost an energy spirits. But again, you kind of have like a contradiction between uh different places and different beliefs about iron. But most of the time, iron is a protective property. Um, but I've always heard that's protective. But iron is not the only thing found here besides iron, they find a lot of limestone. Now,
Limestone?
limestone is covering tons of these cave systems under all of the forest because of the volcano activity. And a lot of people that are spiritual or, are familiar with the supernatural know that limestone is said to amplify energy and activity. So you have this jumbled mess of amplifying, trapping, purifying, whatever you want to say. You have like the limestone versus the iron. And I feel like that makes such an interesting clash of spiritual properties, right? Like
Yeah.
of energies. And I wonder if that contributes to the confusion and just like hostility of the forest,
Yeah,
of like how
so
it feels.
limestone is usually used as a healing thing, but also it is a tool used by spiritualists to get more attuned to the spiritual realm. It's the same as quartz, like
Hmm.
the different types of like clear quartz, the mystic quartz. Those are usually things that people use as like a tool for channeling into like the more like the spiritual realm. It's because it's connected to that. So when they're trying to like speak with the dead or do anything like that for any kind of
Hmm.
spiritualist that does practices like that, they usually have specific sets of stones that help with getting their
Channeling.
message and channeling over
Hmm.
there. And limestone and quartz are some of those stones.
And there
So
it that is in like like a very, from what I saw in my research, I didn't obviously research all the caves there, but from what it said, I'm pretty sure like almost all those caves, not all the caves underneath that are running the entire length, like they're pocked all over Okahara Forest, are full of limestone and like different crystals. So it's like a very, that could be very powerful if that is true, right? So I feel like that mixed with the iron is like such a trap of energy. I thought that was a very interesting combination of things. Again, iron's supposed to be like a protective energy, but I wonder if it acts more as a trap here than as a protection. You know what I
wait,
mean?
sorry. As we were talking about like the iron trap, is that why some people go there because they want to get in touch with their family and their
It's
family is
very possible.
stuck within the dome of the iron trap and that's why that's the only way they can reach them is, well, I know that they are here and they could possibly be trapped in the sea of trees because
Well, it's
of
not,
that.
it might not even be so much that they believe like that their loved one is there specifically, like that they went there into their life, but a lot of people believe that it's like Shasta, it's a portal or like a doorway to not the underworld, but the dead, to those who
Hmm.
have passed on. So I would definitely think that there would probably be people who have gone there to try and use it as a doorway. And I'm not going to touch too much on this because I even put it in my notes, but there is, of course, their own Bigfoot lore, uh, as there is pretty much anywhere. But that one's not very popular. But a lot of missing people. A lot of missing people again, just like in Shasta. But this one makes a little more sense in the sense of like its reputation. A lot of people are missing. We can guess why. But again, a lot of people are missing because they wander off even without that intention and get lost. So another national park. Well, I guess I don't know if they consider a national park. It's not in the U.S., but it's a giant fucking forest, full of creepy shit. So it's like another example of a possible doorway, in my opinion. A lot of these places, another volcano. You know what I mean? A lot of that minerals can be found there, just like in Shasta with the crystals. You know what I mean? So I think that's very interesting that they both have such connected
Parallels.
uh geography, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word I'm looking for. Um, but so supernatural possibilities aside, mental health is obviously extremely important. We do a fundraiser for the youth mental health. You guys know us, we care very much about that. And the most obvious factor to those who go here struggling was that's the most obvious factor, right? Is that people that go here, they're struggling with dark thoughts, they're struggling with thoughts of self-harm. But not only uh mental health is not only insanely complex, but there's also a lot of cultural differences, a lot of taboos outside of Western media and things and different cultures. Mental health is seen differently.
Oh yeah.
Again, these things are progressing; they're getting better, which is great news. But we know that it's not the same everywhere, right? And even here, it's still quite. A lot of people find it very taboo. They don't like talking about it. Um, and these taboos and cultural differences have very large impacts. And we're all human, no matter where you are on the globe. I'm pretty sure most of us have experienced some kind of mental health struggle, and Japan does have an unfortunate history of ritual suicides because um, suicide there didn't and doesn't necessarily carry the same stigma in Japan as it does in some other countries and cultures. The practice of sembuku, or a samurai's
Se-
honorable
is it
suicide.
seppuku? Seppuku?
Yes, seppuku. Thank
Yeah.
you. But so you say it. You say my words. I'm gonna send you a list. But but it dates back to feudal Japan. And though this practice is no longer a norm, right? We know that there is a higher rate of suicide in Japan. And a lot of this now is from high societal pressures
Yep.
to work, earn, have a family, be successful.
Be
And this is
honorable.
actually,
Be
yes. And
honorable.
that those kind of suicides, especially back back in the day, were not necessarily considered a not a good thing, but sometimes could be considered honorable. Like they felt like they were doing the honorable thing. Um, and this has actually led these new pressures of society and having families and economically, especially economically, money is a huge pressure on people, especially in places where that work culture is so strong.
Yeah.
This has revived the buku. Am I saying that right?
Ooh.
The
Seppuku. Yeah.
Seppuku, Seppuku culture. And this is kind of giving it like a little bit of a revivance, like randomly at times when there's economic hardship. And again, a lot of times, it was seen there as taking responsibility, and like, oh well, I failed, so that's it.
The
And that's I
shame.
cannot express. Yes, I cannot express enough to you guys how not true that is. All right, it is not true. I promise. I know. But again, these are things that are very deeply rooted. I'm not going to try to explain them. It's not my history. I am not a historian. I'm not a psychiatrist. But it unfortunately is something that is rooted in Japanese culture. And this definitely has its influence, right, on
Yeah.
somewhere like this. Um, but another theory as to why the forest became such a popular location for such acts. Um, root from, and this is very interesting that you mentioned mummies.
Ha 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 ha.
So another theory is that it comes from a root or roots from a certain sect of Buddhist monk. So Mount Fuji, as we've discussed, just like
Mount Shasta.
thank you, Shasta. That's it. My brain's like, all right, we're clocking out. We're done. You've had your limit of words you can pronounce today, and that's it. That's not even a hard one, but it's a sacred location. Um. Oh,
Do you
oh,
want to
there.
see?
Okay.
Yeah, I was just showing Mount Fuji.
But it's so beautiful, and it makes me so sad. But it's sacred. It's a sacred mountain in Japan. And the forest surrounding it, Okahara, is also sacred. And some Buddhist monks even went there to practice an extreme form of meditation. This meditation is where they would eat leaves and bark from the trees for X amount of years. Now I saw someone's like when I was reading, I didn't put the amount of years because someone said like 1,000, and there is like a theory that monks can live for thousands of years. You know what I mean? But very likely it was more that they ate for like a few years and then died. But they said 1,000 years. I'm putting X amount of years because obviously there's some exaggeration happening here.
Yeah.
But they did practice this, and after so many years, they would bury themselves underground and go without eating anything and continue their meditation until they passed. And ultimately, their goal was to transform their body
It's
while still being
to
alive.
transcend or transcend.
Transform.
Yeah.
No, it's transform yourself into a. Oh boy, I listened to all these words too. All right, here we go. A soku shabutsu, which is a type of mummy, a self-mummified mummy. And to this day, they have found 18 self-mummified monks inside. Like they found some, and they are displayed in various parts of Japan. So it really happened. They were there, and this is a theory, another theory as to what may have started drawing people here is that they saw these monks come to the sacred place and essentially, they killed themselves by turning themselves into mummies.
Yeah.
And again, it was for religious purposes or whatever, spiritual purposes, mind you. I still don't think that makes it okay. I think that's pretty fucking crazy to like. I can imagine like starving, like eating leaves and that kind of stuff, but I can't understand it. Right? It's not my beliefs. Uh, I think that would be a terrible way to go. Starvation and then burying yourself. But I do find it very interesting that they talked about finding mummies in yours as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that they had for sure found some in Mount Fuji. Um, I thought that was a very, very strange detail. And I do definitely think that probably has some kind of, to at least starting the allure of this was its deep reputation with this, these deaths with the monks, and also possibly the leaving of the elderly and sick. So I think that when you mark a place saying, "Hey, this is the place to go to die," people are going to come there to die. I don't know if you guys have ever heard or watched. There's a documentary about the Golden Gate Bridge, and it has a very similar issue, a very, very similar issue. They've actually,
Yeah.
I think now they have a net. I think they finally put a net under it or something, or like something around it. But a lot of people commit suicide off the Golden Gate, like a lot of people, like an unreasonable amount. And
It's gotten so bad that they have
yeah,
actually wired
yes, they put up the
phones
thing.
phones for them to pick up and
Oh,
call. Like it's gotten so bad that they're all like they
mm-hmm.
need to have some kind of resource that's within
Yes.
reach so that maybe they can talk to someone and
Mm-hmm.
convince
And I
themselves
think it's
not to
the
go through
same,
with it.
right? I think it's the same. Again, I think it's a combination of things, but I think it's the same concept as with the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just it becomes a place of lore, a place of stories, and people are like, well, I want to be remembered, or I don't want to be remembered. In the case of the Sea of Trees, maybe some people just don't want to be remembered. Maybe they don't want people to find them, because a lot of them go there because they don't want their bodies to be found. Some people do, right? But again, it's that allure of like this place is known for death, so it attracts death. I think that's it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's that
But the
stain, that energy that
yes,
gets put in a
yeah,
specific area.
and it started with these monks, possibly if the stories of the abandonment are true, it started there. So it's just interesting how crazy deep this goes, like, and how marked it really is. And no matter what the Japanese government tries to do, it seems like this is just a haunted kind of grounds, right? But it's again, it's just so if you go and watch some aerial, I couldn't figure out how to get on there. I didn't want it to be a pain in the ass, but there's some aerial drone footage of flying. It's gorgeous, such a beautiful place, and it just makes me so sad because that's there's more to it. There's probably all kinds of life there. The fauna is beautiful. There's a lot of really cool caves. There's more to it than that. But again, legends, death, it attracts death. But um uh my thoughts to what draw people here, it's not one thing but a combination of things that call to lost souls, right? Tranquil beauty, the remote location, silence, the power and energy of those who have passed, maybe haunting and like holding on inside the forest, pushing people that are already on the brink, and maybe all these factors mixed with history and lore create an allure, lore, but maybe it creates an allure that some people just can't resist. Especially when you're already struggling. Why not go to this beautiful place that they're going to search at some point? If you do want to be found, they're going to be searching it. If you don't want to be found, you just go deeper in, right? It kind of has the perfect appeal for someone who is already struggling. And again, please, please, if you're ever struggling, the number in the US, if this isn't your number, please look it up. You always reach out. And the US number is 988. Um, but I think it's a combination of things though. I really do. Um, and survivors who chose life and chose to leave the Okahara forest, when asked, like, what was it like? What did you experience? Why did you leave? Um, a few quotes that I was able to find, because it's actually kind of hard to find interviews, and I want to say it might be some kind of censorship. It might be again them trying to stop people from, but I mean there is some. It's just hard. Oh, excuse me. It is harder to find than I thought it would be,
Well,
considering there's been a decent amount of people
sometimes in some cultures they avoid talking
talking
about the
about it.
death,
Yeah, that's
because they try and keep it in a place of respect and like privacy. So it could
well,
also
I saw
be like, depending culturally, if that is something that weighs in on whether they speak about it. Kind of like there's a bunch of native tribes that will not talk about wendigos. They will not, they
right,
won't even mention it. And like there's places that you can go that's like a tribal land or like their territory that you should not mention
right.
specific things, like do not mention it. So yeah.
Well, and these are like people that went in there with debating, like, am I going to end my life? And I feel like a lot of people that debate that, even no matter where you are in the globe, are probably not going to tell people a lot of times, right? A lot of times they're not going to be like, "Yeah, I was thinking about killing myself." Like a lot of people don't talk about that because it's heavy, right? And there's a lot of reasons why people wouldn't share that, but the people that do, they're like, "Hey, why Okahara?" And they would say, "Well, one person said, a lot of people commit suicide here, thus you won't die alone." Another person said, I wanted to die alone without being noticed. Again, we talked about that. If you want to be found, you can die closer to the trail and be found. If you don't want to be found, you probably won't be. Um, and then another person said, I wanted to share the same place with others and belong to the same group. So you can see with these responses from people who thankfully changed their minds and left, uh, they said, when they went in there, they did feel heavy. Some of them, not all of them again, some of them didn't really mention anything about anything like supernatural, but some people do say, hey, you know, I had someone come to me in the night and talk to me, or I talked to somebody and they told me not to, or they told me to do it. There's stories on both sides. And you just get that overwhelming sadness, right? But again, a lot of people just say, you know, it's because I wanted to be a part of something. I wanted to be a part of the lore of the place. And that's, you know, I think that's probably one of the biggest factors is that it's got such a thick, crazy lore to it. It's hard to, you know, if you're wanting, like, again, it's just like, why not? Why wouldn't they? So, and it's really sad, but thank goodness. So a lot of people go in and come back out. A lot of people do go in and they change their mind. Thank goodness. And there's a lot of, again, those signs I'm sure help a lot. And the modern age and the acceptance of psychological alternatives and things like that are also helping. But as you can imagine, Okahora Forest have been seen a lot has been seen a lot in the media. A lot in the media. Um Now one of the most famous examples I can find is from the 1960 novel by Seko Matsumoto called The Tower of Waves, which featured a love-torn Romeo and Juliet style couple who come to the forest to commit suicide. Um, and even though the forest was already associated with suicide and death, many, especially at the time, in the spiking in the 90s and things in the 80s of suicides attributed to the popularity of this book to romanticizing the forest and causing a big spike in the suicides. Like this book in particular, a lot very very controversial in the sense of like people are like, you, this is your fault. So uh for the young people specifically, they contributed to the increase in young people coming there to commit suicide. Um, Another piece of media deeply tied with the forest is called The Complete Manual of Suicide by Wataru Tsurumi. And this is literally a manual on suicide. Um, and it called the Okahara Forest, quote, the perfect place to die. And this novel, the reason why it's, besides it calling the forest a great place to die, the reason why it's so tied with this place is because it's one of the most frequently found novels or possessions found in the forest. And it's obviously an extremely controversial book, and it's been banned and blamed for the death toll. And obviously, that's whoa, wow, like that's insane. And again, it's one of the most found pieces of literature in the forest, which is very unfortunate. Um, it's also, though, been featured in anime, manga, and films. One popular anime featuring the forest is Naruto. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I can't hear you, by the way. Oh, there you
Naruto.
go. Yeah.
Sorry, they were
No,
yelling
you're okay,
upstairs,
boo.
so I'm like,
No, I
ah.
figured as much.
So I
But
probably just need to
yes.
turn on push to talk. That's probably gonna be easier than me muting myself every 5 seconds. But I'm afraid to touch my Discord and cause your screen to mess up. So I'm just like, I'll do
No,
it
you're
next
all right, boo
time.
boo. I saw your mouth moving. I didn't hear you. I was like, oh no.
No,
Um,
it's because I
but
had
yes,
my mic muted.
I believe it has one of the clans because I've never really watched that
Naruto.
show, but one of the clans are based out of there. And it's a spiritual place there as well. Like it's a sacred place. There's also movies like 2015's Sea of Trees and 2016's American horror film called The Forest, which was god awful, terrible movie. But I think it was actually shot in the forest, which is kind of cool, but also kind of gross.
I don't know if they would have allowed
They
filming.
did it.
Did
It
they?
was, yeah. A
Oh
part, not all of it,
my
but parts of it were
god.
because the Natalie Dormer or whoever the actress is in that actually has like an interview where she talks about filming in part of the forest,
Wow,
which
oh
is kind of
my
gross
god.
to me. Like it's cool, but kind
That's
of
why I'm just like
gross.
I
Like I don't know
can't
how to feel
like
about that. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really think I like it, but maybe other Japanese
Well,
directors have already filmed
they
there.
let media
So
in there. They let media in there all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
So,
I
uh,
guess I shouldn't be surprised because
but I.
it's probably featured in a lot of their horror
Mhm.
films too, if
Well, I figure
at
you
all.
know with how touristy it is, I think is probably the main thing. But like, I understand where you're coming from though, because it's sacred, spiritual, forest. So I was surprised that they did that. I also think, again, I'm kind of torn on whether or not I agree with that, like doing that in general, because kind of icky, right? Like, it's kind of icky. Like, there's one thing going there and like documenting the forest in general, not like that piece of shit did, who we shall not name again in this podcast, um, but just like going there, right, and like documenting the wildlife and the fauna, well, the very little wildlife, and just documenting maybe the feeling and stuff. But like making a movie in there feels kind of weird, especially because the movie was literally about like that specific Okahora forest and like her sister going in there to commit suicide and stuff. Like, it's weird. It's kind of gross. Kind of gives me icky
Yeah,
vicky.
and we're
Um,
pretty creepy. We're pretty creepy, spooky girls,
and it
and
was a bad, yeah, but that's
you
icky.
and I are pretty loosey goosey on, like,
It just feels
that kind of
disrespect.
stuff.
Yeah.
But this one we
Yeah.
are hard aligned on it, because
Yeah.
I also don't like the concept of it,
No.
but it's not my place, I guess.
Right. But
But
say it's not really
for
my
me,
place
I
to say
still
whether or not it's
feel
okay,
like
but
it's a
it feels
bit on
icky.
the
It feels,
disrespectful side
let's
to
say,
me. But
yeah.
like I said, I could just be
At
taking it
least
from
could have been a
personal.
good movie. It wasn't even a good movie. Like, it at least could have been a good fucking movie if you're gonna go in there with such a fucking fucked up,
Hydrate.
like theme for your. Oh, thank you for the hydrate, Norik. And thank you for enjoying the stream. We really appreciate you being here. But yeah, god awful
Um,
movie. Watch it if you want. It's the location's really cool, but besides that, like, not very good.
all right, I'm gonna pause you right here because my thing keeps on trying to run an ad. So I'm gonna
Okay.
pre-roll real quickly, try and get out of this onesie to use the ladies' room. By the way, wearing a whole like bodysuit, all sorts of problems
You're
from trying to go
trapped.
pee.
Yeah, they say.
So I'm gonna run a quick ad while we do that. And anyone that needs to do anything, we're gonna take a quick 90-second break. So we'll
Yes,
get
we
back
are
to it. We just finished
coming
talking
towards
about
the
the
end
terrible
too.
film. So let me go ahead. How far? I need to go. All
We
right.
I say if you have to pee, go pee, but
Well,
we're close.
it's also the ad. I can't snooze it
You
anymore.
can't stop it.
It's
You
I
can't
can't
stop
stop
it
it.
any
So
further.
I'm just
No
gonna
problem.
pre-roll right now just to get out of the way.
You go pee. Everybody go pee. I'm glad I could sing that for the podcast. I'm
Thank
really
you.
glad I did that.
I think it might help. Watch out for you. Hovering, watch out for you. But still try to touch you appropriately. You might like, yeah. He has a nice voice. He gets that all the time. Don't make it. How are you? Oh, oh my goodness. We still have a few seconds left in the ad. Look at that. All right, and we're coming back. Here we go. You get to see the beautiful face of myself and lovely Misa Thorny. So here we are. Whoop. We're back. Sorry, guys. We had to take a quick
Hello.
breaker. The pre-roll those ads so that the last segment of hers doesn't get interrupted in the middle of like a sentence by an ad.
You gotta feed the Twitch gods.
Yeah.
Gotta feed
So
them.
So I'm just like, let's go ahead and pre-roll it just to get it out of the way and continue talking about the Sea of Trees.
All right. So, just for your editing purposes for Spotify, um, we are back and we are talking about the Okihara forest in pop culture. And we just talked about it in Naruto. Is that how you say it?
Naruto, yes.
Naruto.
Naruto.
Oh my god, I can't pronounce words. Again, my brain
Naruto.
has hit the limit. It's like we're done. I'm done now. I'm done pronouncing words.
People know what you're talking about. It's fine. People know what you're talking about.
But we were talking about the Sea of Trees there, and also in a horrible American horror movie called The Forest. And in 2018, Okihara was a subject of a BBC Radio 4 production where they had poets go out and write and record in the forest, which is actually kind of cool. It's a lighter, a little happier. I didn't listen to the poem, so hopefully they're happier. But it seems like a happier, lighter thing to happen in the forest. They also had in 2019 an American playwright named Christine Haruna Lee, who wrote a play called Suicide Forest, which addresses suicide in US and Japan. And there's also an Australian psychedelic rock band called, and this is an amazing fucking name. This Australian psychedelic rock band is called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And they were originally named the Sea of Trees after the forest, but they decided, and I agree, that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is much better than Sea of Trees for a psychedelic rock band.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh my god.
And that's just, a few references. As you can imagine, with the reputation it has, there's a lot of references in different manga and anime and films and songs. Like, there's all kinds of mentions of it. And again, there's more theories than that, but realistically, those are the most solid of theories. But yes, that is the Okihara. Listen to the pronunciation again. Uh, that is the Sea of Trees forest, and I just thought it's such an interesting, a tragic location, but very very interesting. And so again, I highly recommend if you're listening or even watching us here to go and watch some aerial footage or like some video footage of inside the forest and stuff because it's just so gorgeous. Mount Fuji is stunning. It's
Oh
just you
yeah.
really can't beat it. And again, that's what makes it so interesting to me. It's just like a tragic beauty. And I can definitely see the allure of it as like a visitor location, not for the dark stuff. Although I can, in a way, understand wanting to, if you're going to do something like that, do it somewhere beautiful and serene and calm. But again, I highly urge you reach
Seek
out.
help. Seek help,
Please.
please.
Yes,
Please.
please, please. I love you. But again, just in general, I feel like a lot of us could probably understand that to some extent, right? But and it's just a gorgeous, sad place, and I thought it was very, very interesting. And I think it's even more interesting that we somehow picked sister mountains with such similar little details I was not aware of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I did not expect our topics to
again,
align as closely until I started doing my research, and oh my gosh, damn it.
and I
We've done
promise,
it again.
actually, I don't promise, but I'm probably promising that all my topics are going to be as sad. It's just this is it. Okay, this one I knew was going to be sad because of the obvious name, but a lot of them I don't like. The changelings I did not expect to be so depressing. It just happens.
I mean, you also talked about the Celtic bovines, and that was fun. You
That was
that
fun.
wasn't a
Milky
downer.
Way. Yeah, well,
Milky
mostly.
Way. That's in reference to episode 7 when we were
God,
talking. No,
I
it
need
was
to make a
episode
list because
6,
it's
right? Well, there's a list
jumbled.
actually. There's a list of the Discord of all the episodes and what topics we covered in there. I'll show it to you later.
You're an
Um,
angel.
but yeah, I did not expect my like this is like the 4th time we've done a topic that's related to each other. I think no, hold on, let's see. We talked about let's see, when did it start that we started getting things to align with that meaning too? Um
I think.
well, when I was talking about the Kuchisaki Onna and the
Yeah.
Manananggal,
Yeah.
the very many similarities
Gucci.
between the Japanese
Yes.
Kuchisaki Ona versus the Filipino Manananggal and some of their
Mm-hmm.
alignments and similarities.
There's just
And
so
then,
many. We don't we like will maybe sometimes pick a theme like Celtic or locations, but we don't like talk about so it's very interesting that this keeps happening. So
yeah, because when we tell each other our topics, we decide that we make it a goal to avoid researching
we like
said topics so we can get surprised by each other's
Mhm.
research. So
Yeah.
yeah, so whenever she tells me a topic, I'm like, okay, don't look at that topic. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, we plan it, but we don't actually know how far our things
Yeah.
align until we are doing the podcast. You're like, funny you say that, because this
Yeah,
also
it's so
happens
weird.
here.
There's something about volcanic mountains in the forest around them, like the area surrounding them, that's very like a lot of times like you talked about their spiritual locations. There are places of high regard a lot of times to the natives and people that live there. It's just very interesting that they are also almost always places where people go missing or
Yeah.
supernatural alien occurrences happen, portals, lots of portals mentioned again in the missing 411 thing. There's a documentary, I got to find it and I'll send it to you. It's like a
Yeah, you gotta
two-part
send it to
YouTube
me
thing,
because
but
I'm gonna be
very
binge
interesting.
watching.
That is it's crazy spooky. I'm like, I'm staying the fuck out of national parks. I'm not going into any forest. I'm sure as hell not camping in a forest. No
Yeah.
siree. I'm glamping, baby.
But
Give
oh
me a
my
cabin.
goodness. Yes. Like I said, we've had quite a few
Episode 8.
alignments. Episode 8, you guys. I can't
Episode
believe it.
8.
Wow. Jesus, we've been blowing through them. Come October is going to be our 1 year anniversary of the
Oh my
podcast.
god.
Yeah, like October
Time
is not that
flies.
far away.
Not at all. No.
It's
Yay, it's
a
not that
lot.
far away.
But we also have like a summer charity that we're trying to do prior to
Oh,
that, and then that charity. So we've got a lot of things under works with the Black Collar Collective, and so yeah,
okay.
our anniversary is going to be in October for the podcast. We're going to be 1 year on October 15th.
Docu
Hey,
made this.
it's so
Docu
cute.
made this. Look what Docu did. This is merch. Thick and spooky ghouls, and she made me my bling too. I had to show it off. You couldn't see my hoot nanners down there. You couldn't see the spooky ghouls. You know
I
the
wore my
ghouls.
cryptid t-shirt. If you can see, I've got like all the
It's so
cryptids
cute.
here.
I love
You've
that.
got the Loch Ness monster, you've got the UFO, you've got Mothman,
You got the
you've
Jersey
got
Devil.
the Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, werewolves. I don't remember what the cat is. That's something. And then the legs of the one in Fresno, the Fresno
I know.
prowler.
Know what the cat one is. I just looked it up because I was looking at one to tell you that which one I like the most besides Mothman. It was a cat one that I was almost it almost won me over until I saw
You
the
squonk.
Goat Man.
You saw
The
squonk and you're like
squonk. I
squonk.
love the squonk. Hey, she told me that you were talking about the squonk as well. And it is so cute. And it just cried. So the squonk, I know this is we're veering off here real quick, but
No.
the squonk is this adorable,
I'll
like
edit it
almost
out later. It's
naked
fine.
mole rat pig looking creature that cries just constantly crying me in real life. It's me. It's me as a little cryptid. And it's just it cries because it's so ugly. And it leaves trails of tears that you can find it by because it just cries. Ugly little tears. But it's such a cute little ugly mole rat that I resonate with so deeply. It's my
Yeah.
I literally told her that and she's like, that's funny, Ray said that too.
Yeah, because I was like, I wanted
I
to make
sent it to
you,
her. I was like, oh my
I
god.
wanted to make you like a cryptid model. And I'm all like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what cryptid she wants to be.
The
Like for
Jersey
me,
Devils.
my
Not Jersey Devil, the
favorite
Goat Man.
Goat Man, yeah. So for me, like I was like, I love the Manananggal. It's something that I've loved since I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid, So for me, like I am like that is it. That like I would be the Manananggal if I was any kind of cryptid or anything mythological. You are choosing, like you mentioned Squonk, and then now the Goat
Oh my
Man.
god, Squonk. The squonk. I am the squonk. So you like that is me. That's the one I would pick because
You
that's like
cry because people say you're ugly?
ugly.
Oh
Oh my god,
no.
you could follow my ugly little tail tear trail and follow me in my little
Sad
crying
tears
mole
of
rat
ugly
body.
crying. Just
Little
ugly
mole
crying.
rat crying. It literally looks like a little mole rat. I love it. I was like, oh my god! Like I was looking them up, and I was like, well, see, I only looked at ones that were U.S. based. If we're picking out of like everything, that's gonna be hard for me because like if we're getting into like mythos, like there's a lot. Sirens are cool, but skunk is me. That's squonk. Is
It's
that how
a
you say it?
great
That's a
cryptid squonk. Yeah,
squonk.
squonk. I love
But
the squonk.
he really
I
does
love
look
the
like a little.
squonk.
Like I looked it up and it was like ugly little creature that cries because it's so ugly and people follow it by its tears. I was like, oh my god, it's me. I love you. Oh my god, he's so tiny and sad. I cry about everything. It's perfect. It's perfect.
So,
Oh my god.
I hope you guys enjoyed our topics. Do you guys have any questions in the
Yes.
chat? If you guys wanted to bring
Yes.
any points up, please go ahead and put it up in the chat and we'll try and read the chat and follow through them. We'll do this for about a few minutes before we probably decide to wrap up the podcast.
Read
But
it out.
your topic was amazing. There's a lot of things that I learned today, and
I always get so nervous.
I can't believe how thick those trees are, though. Like when I'm like, is that grass?
It's
You're like, no, those are trees, and I'm all like, that is a lot of trees.
They
That's
are
a
not
lot of
kidding when they
oxygen.
see a trees. Yeah, they ain't kidding. They are not joking. Like I can't imagine that, and like again, that stillness is probably just otherworldly. And with how dark it get, like you gotta be crazy. Who the fuck would camp there? Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? I would throw up. I would be hiding in my tent with my little light, shaking in my fucking boots and my little zipped up, sleeping bag, just hoping the guy don't hear someone screaming, because then I'm shitting my pants. And again, I'm a rocket ship at that point. Like I'm gone. Woo!
Miso would have like the gunslinger's belt. I thought about alcohol.
Everybody! What's that? Water! Water!
I actually forgot to buy some more stuff. What was I talking about before I lost track?
We were talking about camping in the sea of trees, in the nightmare that would be as I rocket ship poop in my sleeping bag. You said I would have a gunslinging.
No, for me, I feel like you would have like a gunslinger's belt, but instead of like guns, you'd have like little vials of salt that you're just like throwing salt behind you.
Just iron nails, salt, holy water, maybe some garlic for good measure. Who knows? I don't know which one it is. I would have a little bit of everything. Oh my god. I really, you have to have both, even without like the ghost aspect of it, staying somewhere like that with that how quiet it is and like the darkness that it experiences would be so god awfully unsettling. It'd be like being in a cave. And I would not like that. Not a fan.
It's kind of how I feel about. I'm really curious about the immersion tubes where they put you in this thing where you're floating in water and you're like.
I don't think I could do it.
Like
I think I would freak out.
want to do it, but then at the same time I'll like nope, because my brain's gonna be like, there's gonna be some
Girl,
kind of sea creature that's gonna come underneath me and
I'm
grab my leg.
I'm pretty sure I would freak out.
Yeah, it's just I can't. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can.
Silence.
So
I think
like
the silence is what I don't like hearing my own heartbeat either. Like I have this weird thing about hearing my own heartbeat. I don't like it. I don't know what it is. Like if I lay my head on a pillow, I can hear my heartbeat. It like stresses me out. I don't know why. Who knows? But that is just like an awful thought to me, being in one of those tubes. But a lot of people say it's like relaxing, but oh my god, it's just. Oh yeah, I don't have any booze right now either, Norik.
Yeah.
I don't have my big girl cup out right now. I'm hydrating the kid. I have so much water, different types of water, different flavors. Really,
I'm like sipping on an energy drink and water, I'm like double wielding. I'm like healthy, not healthy, healthy, not healthy. It's fine.
I always have to have water, no matter what I'm drinking. I have to have water.
Well, I've learned from this podcast that this is important with how much we fucking talk. Like it is so important.
Hydrating is key. Because you talk for 4+ hours, you start getting a little crispy. Get a little crispy.
But yeah, it doesn't look like we have any questions.
The forest, though, like, so have you ever been in a cave? I don't know if you've ever been in, like.
I've been on a
I would.
boat inside of like a cavern,
Oh, that's
and we got to
interesting.
see like crystals hanging. It was in the Philippines. It was like a boat trip that we did, and we went
Oh,
to like these dark caves and looked at like
that's
the
kind of cool.
different yeah. But I've been inside the caves in that aspect, but never a cave in a mountain or anything like that.
So there is some caves in Kentucky that we went down to for vacation way back when I was a kid. Mammoth caves or
Do do
something.
do
They're
the blue
huge.
do the blue people of Kentucky go there?
The fucking probably, dude. That shit is creepy as hell. They bring you into a room, like a part of the cave, and they turn off the lights. And I about fucking, I was like, like I don't like that. It's very unsettling. So, have you ever heard of the catacombs of
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
That's something I might, if we do another location place. That's some, of course it's a bummer, but it's so interesting and fucked up and freaky. And that's another place like I find very interesting, but I wouldn't go into it. I think I would go maybe into like the touristy part, but like some people go into the catacombs and I think they are out of their fucking minds. Like there's parties and stuff down there, but I ain't about to play. I'm not playing that. Like no, absolutely not. But I find them very interesting. Another tragic, very cool location. But yeah, I can't imagine how like unsettling it would be.
Yeah,
Silence and
I don't think
darkness.
I'd like it, to be honest. I don't like silence. Like I don't know
No,
if
I don't either.
like you've taken the Harry Potter quiz, right?
Hmm.
And to figure out what your house is. There's a question that they ask you like what brings the most fear, and they give you four scenarios, and one of them was just like the one that had to do with like silence in the room where it's just pure silence, there's nothing, and
Hmm.
then you see an eyeball come out of the door, like you see a door in the door pocket, you see an eyeball that peeks into you. Like for me, like of the four choices, the one that I was immediately drawn to, like not even heights because I'm afraid of heights too, like the heights one was something that I was drawn to, but like the silence, the dead
This
silence was what I'm like, yep, that would buck me the hell up.
so like Redneck said, like when people it's like when people tell you to like clear your mind. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't understand what that means because I don't know how to do that. Like there's no clearing. There's always something going on up there, noise, whatever you want to call it. Like I can't. And then if you put me into like a tube like that, I'm just gonna freak the fuck out. Like it's part of the reason going to sleep is hard because you start thinking and like I get anxious about stuff. And then you put me in a silent tube full of water, I'm just gonna be like, ah, just splashing about,
Sharks
having
underneath
a
me,
panic
sharks
attack.
underneath me,
Yeah.
sharks underneath
Ah,
me, sharks underneath
ah,
me. I'm gonna die.
oh my god. Remember all the terrible things? And I'd be like, oh god.
Yeah,
And
actually,
then I'm just floating in it.
I'm trying to learn how to do that because when I do my meditation stretches, because I do yoga every now and then, I'm trying to get more into it because it's like, I feel like it's been helping me. But I've been trying to do like yoga, which yoga is like you're forced in a stretch, but because you're forced in a stretch, you have to meditate and like ease your mind from the pain that is happening on your hip and on your arm or whatever you're stretching, right? And so like what happens is like they make you close your eyes, they make you breathe in, and then they make you focus on a specific thing. And then then after that that thing turns into a light, and then you just imagine that light, and that's considered like you trying to clear your mind because like you're so focused on the light that everything else is getting pushed aside, which then helps you. So it's like awake sleeping in a sense, you know?
See, I think that's part of my issue too with like meditation is like I can't picture things very well. Like I have that's the part of the reason I have such trouble with math is like a lot of people will do math equations in their head, right? I can't picture like a math equation in my head. Like I can't see like it's there's not like I can't like, it's hard for me to like I can picture things like I can like an apple. I can see an apple, but I can't like I don't know how to explain it, but it's really hard for me to like do things with my brain. It's hard to do things, but I do hear that meditation is not meditation, yoga is really good. And that's something that I actually wanted to try at some point. But yeah,
I just
I
got an
can't
idea.
imagine.
Sorry, this whole scene of us just
No, you're
talking
good.
about this. Like, I'm like, I came up with that idea. We may make like a subcategory in the future of like our after after topic chats, just like our after
Oh
pod
yeah,
chats. I feel like we can make a whole segment about that. Sorry, my brain just
I think so
registered that in
too.
my
No, I
80
think
like,
that's cute.
so
Yeah,
I'm just like, let me go ahead and let, like, because it's in my
like
mind
a cool
already.
down. It kind of reminds me of Epic's end of his off the pod
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
the potluck. Yeah, yeah,
Where you
something.
just shoot the
Yeah,
shoot,
just kind
especially
of.
if there's like heavy topics like the Sea of Trees. It's good
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
I feel like this
absolutely.
is good for
Decompress.
us to decompress together and
Yes.
decompress with a chat about this. But yes, we've been rambling, which is great. I love rambling with you. Um, do you have more to say? Because we can still keep on chatting, and then we'll just do our closing, and then I'll just crop
Oh
this
no,
part
I
as
think
something as a completely
I've
second.
rambled quite sufficiently, but
I
I again,
appreciate
it's
the
been so much
ramblings.
fun. And again, yeah, redneck and Ray, I'm the same way. I can't do it. I say maybe if it's full of CBD or weed, just a tub full of CBD oil, just drown me in it. Just lather me up.
I will be asleep for 2 weeks. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll
just
be asleep
comatose.
and snacking for 2 weeks. Thank you. But
That's the kind of medication I need. Just put me under.
it's actually really nice to just like we started this podcast as just you and me, and then we had a couple episodes where it was just you and me.
Yeah, it's
So I
nice to
mean,
sometimes be just me and you again.
it's
Yeah.
nice that it's just you and me right now. As much as we love having our guests, it's also
Oh,
nice to
we do.
have our
Yes.
like moments of here.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I am trying to push another, like, because I had someone for June, but that didn't, or no, for June, but that didn't follow through. So now I'm trying to get my person for July to come join us for June. But if she's unable, then we'll probably have another just one-on-one podcast, just me and Miso talking about whatever topic we're talking
I
about
actually
for
have an
that day.
idea for that. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll send you it in Discord.
Okay. So, as you guys can see, our format's a little different. Our energy, I feel like, is a little different when it's just me and her, because I just feel like we just have that vibe and that connection that just like syncs up. And so for me, like, it's nice to have our guests, but it's also nice to have these moments. So
Yeah, it's all
there's
of
gonna
course.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to have our guests,
Little
especially
A,
since
little
they
B.
bring a different side to
Energy
how,
and
like,
yeah.
my research notes are completely different from Miso's research notes. So it's really nice to see how other people digest and present
Hmm.
information. So it's very, very cool.
And I
And
do really hope everybody is enjoying, and again, please go check out the Spotify. Show some love there. It's really, lets us know what you guys are enjoying and everything. And then, she's put a lot of hard work into it. The YouTube as well. Again, if you want like a visual that you want to watch, well, so it just
yeah.
means a lot.
Yeah, so this has been a really fun experience with you, and I'm so glad that we're doing this together. And I can't wait for next week's. Redneck says they are really interesting. Aww.
Thank you. It really means a lot to get feedback from you guys, and just having you guys here like blows my mind and makes my little heart very happy.
It really
Especially since
does.
I'm a Debbie Downer.
Like for me, everyone that's told me like, "Oh, I listen to you guys when I'm working," and I'm just like,
And me, I know, I'm freaking out. Like
I'm all like,
everybody, someone's like, "You got a nice voice." I'm like, oh,
and then there's like
"You're a
some people are
liar. I
like,
love you."
there's some people are like, well, I work alone at night, and so when I listen to your podcast, I just feel like I'm hanging out with you two, and we're just talking about
Oh,
some
I
spooky
love
shit, and I'm
that.
just like, oh my god, that feels so good.
I love that
So
so much.
keep
Yeah.
more of that, more of that.
Appreciate Yes, I appreciate so much. And that's what we want. We want you guys to feel like you're a part. That's why we love having you guys here in the flesh for the podcast
Well,
because we get to be interactive with
redneck.
you.
Well, redneck, if you do have a Spotify, I'm happy to let you know that Spotify, our format is definitely. Our format is like they're still kind of long. We still have like hour 30-minute long
Hmm.
episodes, but like they're divided per topic, except for the
Right.
ones where the topics are small enough that they can fit in one in one. But there's only a couple occasions where it's like that. So yeah, if our videos are too long, because I know that we have ads that we run between
Yeah.
them, we have conversations, we have like we have an intro and an outro and all that stuff. So if that also like makes it extend, we do have it so that we cut most of those things out of the actual Spotify podcast so that you can get more of the information that you want and less of the extra chitter chatter, because I know that our podcast can go really, really long. Like I think the longest we've had is 4 hours and 17 minutes, 4 hours and 20 minutes. So yeah, definitely check us out. Our Spotify link is actually pinned at the very top of the chat if you guys wanted to take a look at our Spotify. So, yeah, if our episodes are kind of long, you guys, we do have them in bite sized formats on Spotify now. And so, but when it comes to like us being on Twitch like this or being like on like the YouTube, I feel like this is important to be included in that because it kind of gives it more of the
Mhm.
vibe that we're trying to go to. This is something that we want people to, hey, they like, I want to be there for the live. So it's one of those things like we definitely
Yeah,
feel
absolutely.
more comfortable being live with you guys on Twitch because we can interact with you guys in the chat. If
Yeah,
we're
we love
saying
talking to you
something,
guys.
if we're giving misinformation, we can have someone telling us
Yeah,
in the chat, like, wait, hold on, so we can
helping me
correct
pronounce
it in the
things.
same time. Just little things like that. It gives it a little extra more like a little extra flavor for us, and it's a little more comfortable and a little, it's like it's
Mhm.
warmer for me through the Twitch
I love
versus
it. Yeah.
everything else.
I
But
love this so much. I love like it for me this feels so much nicer than it would just sitting in like a sterile room and talking to no one, right? It feels like we're we are talking to our friends, we're talking to our community, and that feels a lot smoother to me than just like no one. So, I don't know.
can
I like it. I
can
love
you
it.
believe that we're old
Want
enough?
some more of it.
Can you believe that we're old enough that if we tried this when we were much younger, there was no way to make this possible because Discord didn't like exist yet. Stuff
Oh my
like that didn't
god.
exist yet.
I
So
mean,
you couldn't do a podcast talk show without being next to the person recording at the same time because so I'm just like we're old enough that we could have been from the point where you had to be face to face to do a podcast to now you're across the freaking
there wasn't even like let's
country.
say podcasts were more just like radio interviews at that point, really, or just
Hmm.
interviews more so. And then like also for me, I didn't have access to the internet at my house. I was around for we're old enough to where like I saw not like the internet was around already, but like social media start like I saw the start of MySpace, Newgrounds. We didn't even have internet at my house. I had to go to the public library for like the longest time to use the internet to do like homework and stuff. I was doing homework out of books, you know what I mean? Like for
Yeah.
a very long time. Like my research out of like books instead of like Googling it. So, that's I
So
feel it.
the fact that we're able to do this now, I'm just like thinking about if we tried this in a different time of our life,
Dude.
this might not have been possible. So this is
No.
amazing. And I've
No,
I've
for it to
enjoyed it so
work
greatly
out.
with you.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Destiny.
I think that we've rambled on enough. We've thank you for everyone that's chosen to hang out with us, give us their time. Thank you for all of
It
those raids, you guys.
means the world
And
to us.
it looks like Twitch dropped all those bot follows that I got yesterday. I'm exactly at 1K. Hopefully it stays at
Yay!
1K,
Everybody celebrate for
which
Daku!
means we're going to be doing a Subnautica
Yay!
stream in this channel at some point in the future. So, we hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys really enjoyed the topics. We're going to do our outro. Then after we do our outro, we're going to go ahead and get you guys ready for the raid and figure out who we're going to raid to. Me and Miso are trying to perfect the outro, but we have just been very good at messing it up.
We can do this. I want to say that I believe in us.
I'm hoping that by our 1 year anniversary, we would be a little. We'll see how we do it. Okay, I say we'll stay thick, and then you say and. We say you do the and because we don't have a person here to do the and for us
Okay.
this time. So I'll do the first part and you do the whole second part. Sorry, John's not here to record end either, so it's literally just me and Miso doing our outro. So we'll stay thick.
And you stay spooky. Ah.
All right. We appreciate you
We
guys
did it.
so much. Let's go ahead and get the pod message set up. This is the pod raid. Hold up. Pod raid, pod raid, pod raid.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you guys
Seriously,
so
we
much.
appreciate you guys so much. Let me go ahead and find a target. Let's see if we can acquire a target, shall we? And if you guys
Hard.
wouldn't mind copying and pasting the thick and spooky ghouls, I should make one for our subscribers and make one for our non-subscribers. This one works for everybody, but for our subscribers, I should make one. But again, thank you for all those raids. Thank you for the ones that followed today, and thank you for all that stayed with the raid. I really do hope you enjoyed the topic, and we're looking forward to doing research on our next topic. And I don't know what I'm doing for next month yet. I was going to do a topic, but I don't think my research is close to done with that one. So I'm going to push that back another month. But I'll talk to you about what I have in mind for next month. And so, yeah, I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for saying it's an awesome podcast, you guys. Seriously, we're 8 episodes
We really
in,
appreciate it.
and our
It's
Spotify
crazy.
will
It's
be
flown by.
caught up in about 3 weeks' time. Our Spotify will be in sync with what episodes we have live thus far. So, podcast right now is on episode 6. I'm going to release an episode every Sunday. So, episode 7 will be next week on Sunday. And then the episode now will be the Sunday after that. So, basically we're working on it, you guys. We're working on it. So let's go ahead and find someone to raid out to and show some love to. So let's see. Let's go ahead and take this party over to the wino. Should we take it to the wino?
I was literally gonna say, well, Wino is on.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and bring this raid over to another Black Collar Collective member named
Please
Wino.
stay for the raid.
Thank you.
It means so much.
We appreciate you guys. Please stay for the raid. Show the next streamer some love. And we look forward to seeing you guys next month for the topic. Next month, it's going to be later in the month. This month is a little earlier than what we normally do. We normally try and do the last weekend of every month, but with me being gone next week for the whole weekend, I'll be out of town. It's one of those things that we kind of had to do it the week before. So most of the time we try and do it like the last weekend of the month is when we try and do the podcast for future, you guys. So let's go ahead and stay for the raid. I appreciate you guys and thank you for hanging out with the podcast. We love you. And Miso's giving you guys cute waves and cute kisses because she's amazing. All right, so
you're amazing.
Aw, babes. We love you guys. Please stay for the raid. We're going to go over to some wino, show some wino some love, and we'll see you all on the next podcast.
Night, guys.
Bye. Did it go through? There we go.